This story is loosely based on the above footage, where a chef can be seen working in a restaurant kitchen. He seemed perfectly fine and even interacted with the delivery guy who came to talk to him. But once the delivery man left, the chef started acting weird. His behavior seemed like he was being possessed by some unknown evil, leading to a horrible accident. IMR Scary Tales presents you with a spine-chilling story based on this true found footage. When our town got its first Panera Bread outlet, I decided to apply for a part-time job. I had a scooter, so I could easily do deliveries. On my first day at work, it was Carl who came to talk to me first. Carl was the chef there and had a good reputation for his cooking skill. Every loaf of bread he baked turned out to be perfect. Their mouth-watering smell and warmth put a smile on the customers' faces. Carl never bragged about his culinary skills, and maybe that's why people loved him more. His humble nature and welcoming attitude made him approachable to strangers. Handing me my uniform, he said,
"Welcome to the Panera Bread family. Let me know if you ever need anything, Kelly."
"Thanks, Carl. You are the sweetest." Slowly, I got accustomed to the restaurant and my job. Everything was going well, when suddenly, Carl's mother died. Little did I know that Carl adored his mom. All that he knew about baking bread, he learned from his mother. After her funeral, when he came back, I expected to see him in bad shape, but to all of our surprise, he looked just fine. He wasn't smiling and talking like he used to, but he didn't say a single thing about his mother. He mostly kept to himself and finished his job. We were about to close the restaurant when I decided to talk to him. I don't know why I felt odd about his behavior and this sudden toughness that he acquired after losing his mother. He was folding his apron when I entered the kitchen. "Hey."
"Hi, Kelly."
Done for the day?
Yeah.
Look, I know you're going through a tough time, and it's not easy to deal with the death of your loved ones, but I want you to know that I'm with you. If ever I could be of any help, just let me know."
Sure. I will.
His straight-cut replies made me understand that he didn't want to talk about this. So, without interfering much, I bid him goodnight and turned to leave. That's when he stopped me.
"Kelly?"
"Yes?"
If I say something, will you believe me?
"Like what?"
My mom is with me.
"Of course she is, Carl. She's watching over you from heaven."
No. That's not what I meant.
"Then what?"
My mom is with me, like inside me or around me. I can't explain it, but I feel her. I feel her in that house. I feel her here, too. She watches me standing in that corner when I bake."
"What?"
You must be thinking I'm crazy, right?
No, I think it's the sorrow that's making you feel this way. It happens when we... Suddenly, he leaned close to my face and said in a creepy voice,
She is getting angry.
"What?"
She's here. She doesn't like the fact that I'm telling all of this to you. I better go home.
He quickly grabbed his bag and left the Panera Bread outlet abruptly. I stood in the empty kitchen like a clueless 6-year-old trying to figure out what just happened. I felt goosebumps as my eyes scanned the kitchen slowly. I stared at the dark corner that Carl pointed out, and I felt a cold shiver down my spine. That night, after coming home, I just couldn't help but ponder on the words Carl said to me. His mother is with him? How is that even possible? I went to her funeral myself. I saw her lifeless body lying in the coffin. I was there when she was buried in the church cemetery. Then how can she... There's no way I'm going to accept a ghostly tale. The next morning, waking up, I decided to talk to our boss about Carl's weird behavior. The shock was such that this guy was starting to lose his mind, and I couldn't let that happen. I went to work in the evening. Carl was working in the kitchen like usual, but this time he didn't greet me like he used to. Rather, he was avoiding me like a plague, barely looking at me, keeping to the minimum whenever the chance of conversation came. So I didn't bother him either at that moment. I decided to talk to him one more time before going to our boss. I set out for the night deliveries, and when I came back, it was closing time already. The boss had left, and our cleaning guy was taking out the trash. It was just me and Carl in the restaurant, so I took the opportunity. I went to the kitchen. Carl was busy wrapping up. He was baking the last batch. "Hey, how are you today?" He turned at me and smiled in an eerie way.
Never been better, Kelly.
"You know you can always talk to me."
Yes, yes, of course.
Saying this, he looked at me and his eyes froze. He stopped blinking or even moving. "Carl? Carl!" I called out to him, but he didn't reply. Suddenly, his body started to shake violently, like he was having an attack or something. I screamed again. "Carl! Carl? What's happening to you?"
She's back. She is.
The voice he spoke in sounded so distorted that I couldn't believe it was coming from a human. I ran to grab him, and just then his head started to turn up in a very scary way. His eyes widened. His mouth opened into a silent scream while he faced the ceiling. What happened next will forever be imprinted in my memory. Carl was standing right next to the deep fryer. His body went out of his control as if someone else was operating it. He slowly started to bend down, and I realized that a huge tragedy was about to take place. Carl was about to drop down in that hot, flaming deep fryer. I was so shocked and scared by this scenario that I forgot to move. Right in front of my eyes, he dipped his own face in the fryer, and I could hear a loud frying sound mixed with a suppressed scream. "Oh my God!" I could see his face getting fried. He was trying to get up, but something or someone was pushing his head deep into that hot, boiling oil. I couldn't stand the scene and fainted after letting out a spine-chilling scream. When I woke up at the hospital, my parents were seen standing by my side. 2 cops were there too. One of them said,
I'm sorry for what happened to your coworker, miss. I know it's not a good time, but I have to ask some questions about his tragic death. You were the last person to be with him at the time of his suicide.
"Suicide? You're ruling this out as a suicide?"
Well, we have the CCTV footage, ma'am. He killed himself. We came to know his mother died, and we think he was depressed about that.
Yes, he was, but that doesn't explain why he would dunk his face in a deep fryer. I didn't believe him when he told me, but I think he was right all this time.
Right about what?
That his... I couldn't tell them, no matter how much I wanted to. I just couldn't. Who would believe me? Who would accept the fact that it was Carl's mom who possessed him to kill himself that night? I couldn't work in Panera Bread after Carl's death. Whenever I am alone, that image of Carl's face getting fried like a pretzel still shocks my mind. I will never get the answers. What do you think? Was it a suicide, or did something evil make him do it? I know everyone enjoys fireworks, but the 4th of July is not my favorite holiday. I used to enjoy fireworks, but my brother Josh is really scared of them. So over time, I grew to dislike them too. That 4th of July was a clear, starry night, perfect for fireworks. My parents and I closed all the windows so Josh wouldn't get scared and sat down to watch a comedy movie. Everything was going well until my dad got a call on his cell phone and went to the kitchen to answer it. When he came back, he was really worried, called my mom, and after a moment, they asked me to pause the movie and talk to me.
Lori, listen. We got an emergency call from the aunt. She had an accident at the house, and we have to go help her. Can you stay here?
Of course, we'll be fine. I am a big girl now. Be good, and don't go out in the street or the yard. Stay watching the movie and we'll be back before it's over, okay, hun? They both left in the car, so I sat with Josh to watch the movie. After a few minutes, I got a little hungry. I went to the cupboard to get some cookies, and something caught my attention. The door to the backyard was open. I went to close it, but halfway there, I stood still, frozen with fear at what I was seeing. A man, dressed as a doctor, was timidly leaning out of the backyard window. His smile was tetric and went from ear to ear, showing his perfect white teeth.
You found me.
Who the fuck are you?
Oh, manners, Lori. I don't think you're a good example for little Josh.
What? How do you know our names? What the hell do you want?
I guess I can answer you. It's just rude of me not to introduce myself. I'm Willie. Willie the doctor.
What?
What you heard, silly. I came to greet the family on this special day.
This man was clearly a lunatic. I started walking backward as he approached me at the same speed.
I heard Joshua doesn't like the 4th of July. Do you mind if I have a chat with him?
Get the fuck away from him, you psycho! With that said, we both ran out at the same time, and I slammed the kitchen door in his face. Meanwhile, the man was kicking the door and shouting,
Lori! Lori, 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 Lori! Lori! Where is Josh?
Startled, Josh stared at the door with wide eyes, not understanding what was happening. Josh, go up to your room, now! Without thinking, the boy understood the situation and ran as fast as he could. I grabbed a vase and stayed to confront the man. I was not going to let anything happen to Josh. I was going to defend him even if I had to sacrifice my own life in the process. The man rammed the door and with just 2 blows knocked it down and looked me in the eye, smiling.
Oh, hi, Lori.
I don't know who the hell you are, but I'm not going to let you hurt my brother. You don't scare me.
Come on, Lori. We both know you can't take care of Josh. The kid will die, and it will be your fault. You have to let Josh go. This is for your own good.
You won't do anything to him, you bastard.
With all my strength, I rushed at the man to hit him, but he easily grabbed my neck, and while I dropped the vase, he spoke to me with a serious and hard tone of voice.
Listen to me, you damn brat. I could break your neck right now, but I won't do it. Do you know why? Why? Because you're not going to die today. No, it's going to be your little brother. And you know what? There won't be a day when you won't stop thinking about how you couldn't save him. Because you are nothing. Nothing but a useless bitch. A piece of trash. An insect. Now, run to your brother and hide until Mommy and Daddy come. At least make it fun.
The man let go of me, and without hesitation, I ran up the stairs and locked myself in my brother's room. Josh was waiting for me, so I ordered him to get under the bed. Meanwhile, I heard the voice of the man behind the door, slowly approaching.
Doctor! Doctor! What is the patient's report?
Well, I am sorry to inform you that Lori is having a very hard time coming to terms with her brother's death.
Oh, Doctor, that's super funny. And how did the little shit die?
From a stray bullet.
After shooting, the psycho started kicking the door down. I hid in the closet as fast as I could. I didn't know if he saw me, but his attention was directed to the bottom of the bed, where Josh was. He crouched down and with a demented grin, saw Josh.
Oh, hi, Josh.
I took advantage of the situation to get out of the closet, and with all my strength, I used the baseball bat that was in the closet, and I hit him in the body. The man fell down in pain, and I took advantage of that situation to pull Josh out from under the bed and run with him. I heard my parents arriving, and crying, I went downstairs and hugged them.
Dad, Mom, there's someone in the house. He's trying to take Josh.
When they saw me, they instantly started crying with me and hugged me.
I'm so sorry, Lori. This is our fault. We shouldn't have left.
What are you doing? We have to go now. He's hurt. This is our chance.
No, you don't understand.
There's no psycho, Lori.
No, you have to believe me. What?
When I looked up, the psycho was no longer on the floor.
Where the fuck is he? He was just here.
No, dear, he was never here. In shock, I started to look around the room. There was no psycho. No holes in the door. Nothing.
But Josh also... Josh? He was with me when you guys came in. Where is he?
Josh has been dead for 5 years, honey. He was killed by a stray bullet in the backyard.
We're sorry, dear. This was our fault. You weren't ready to leave the mental health institute.
No. He was here, I swear. I saved him.
And that's all I can remember from that night, Dr. Robert.
No need for the formality, Lori. We have known each other for a while. Call me William.
Of course, Dr. William.
Now then, tell me, when you have these episodes, what does Joshua say to you?
Josh won't talk to me.
And why do you think that is?
I don't remember his voice anymore.
Lori, like I always tell you, you have to stop feeling guilty about your brother's death. You just lured him outside to watch the fireworks. You didn't kill him. You have to let Joshua go. This is for your own good. A little more time here will do you some good, and then you can go home to your parents.
You don't understand. I don't want to go back to my parents. I agreed to come back here for a reason.
Oh, and what would that reason be?
I want you to give me back Josh.
I love going to Dollar Tree. I belong to a family with few resources, and it is one of the only places where we can go together and buy a lot of things. Even if we don't buy anything, it's a great family outing because the kids have a good time, and we can go out without feeling the pressure of spending money. That day, Thomas, my husband, had just gotten a job and invited us all to grab something we wanted. The kids were elated. What none of us knew is that cheap sometimes costs dearly. When we entered the store, our 2 children were very excited, and without giving us time to ask them to be with us, they ran to the toy section. Martin, our oldest son, bought a helicopter, while Gwen grabbed a warplane. Clearly, they had agreed to buy similar toys before they came in, which amused me a little, and I was happy for them. After Thomas picked out a screwdriver, I was very happy that I was finally going to be able to buy a picture frame that I had seen a few weeks earlier. It may seem like a simple thing I could have bought earlier, but when you're struggling to get food on your table, every dollar counts. I went to get it at the end, and there it was. It was the last one in the store, and I was happy to imagine putting it next to my bed. I was going to put up a picture of our family, and I was going to look at it every night before I went to sleep. I went happily as a child to grab it, and as soon as I held it, a woman pushed me and violently pulled it out of my hands.
Hey, I saw it first. Get your dirty, poor hands off of it.
The woman was large, stocky, and athletic. Despite being in a gym outfit, you could tell it was brand name clothing and that she was well off.
What the fuck? I saw it first. How dare you push me like that? No, you grabbed it first. But I had seen it before. I'm not going to get into an argument with a low-class cockroach like you. Go make your husband some lunch. First of all, treat me with respect. I'm a person, just like you. Nothing gives you the right to push me around. Second, who I cook for is my problem. You should thank me for touching you and your supermarket clothes. In itself, it's a miracle that your children are not in a zoo and your husband is not the one who cleans.
She told me with malice and a huge smile. My patience had limits. I consider myself a very calm woman who always tries to come to an agreement. But when someone messes with my family, I explode. Furious, I slapped her and took the picture frame out of her hand, turned around, and left, dedicating a few last words to her as I walked away before the bewildered eyes of Thomas and my children.
Oh, and by the way, if you're so wealthy, don't come shopping at fucking Dollar Tree.
The woman just froze. Her face turned as red as a tomato, and she started breathing heavily, gathering anger with every passing second. The veins in her face began to bulge more and more. The lady had gone from being a random Karen to an enraged gorilla that could jump out and attack us at any moment. Disinterested in this performance, I simply joined my family and kept walking.
Wow, nice to meet you, Angela.
Shut up. I would never let a resentful witch like that mess with my beautiful family.
Speaking of, I guess the witch took it too hard because she left her shopping basket and walked away.
As I turned around, I confirmed what Thomas had said. From one second to the next, the woman was simply gone. She had done quite a bit of shopping, but she hadn't taken anything with her.
She definitely took your slap to heart.
Yeah, and you know what? That's for the better. She was probably one of those rich girls that nobody ever put in her place. She deserved a reality check.
As we paid for our stuff, I looked up, and there she was, staring at us from outside, furious. She was still red, breathing heavily. At that moment, I knew something was wrong, that maybe we should prepare to confront her on the way out. I told Thomas, but when he looked up, she was gone. We walked quickly to the car without running into anyone and got in, ready to leave with our purchases. But something was wrong. The car started, but couldn't move.
What? No, it can't be.
What's wrong, Thomas?
I think someone punctured the tires of the car.
Outside the car, the woman from before was furious, banging all over our car, full of anger. The woman wasn't trying to get in. She wanted to destroy the car with us inside.
How dare you put your filthy, disgusting hand on me, you bitch! I'll kill you and your fucking cockroach family! Leave us alone! My children have done nothing to you!
No, I've had enough. I don't care that she's a woman. I'm gonna stop her.
Thomas got out of the car in a rage and approached her. He was about to start talking, but the woman immediately electrocuted him with a taser gun and hit him in the knee with her iron pipe. When Thomas fell, she stomped on his face and rubbed her foot as if she was killing a cockroach. The woman had an insane, obsessive look on her face, clearly enjoying the moment. I got out of the car in a hurry to stop her, and with excellent reflexes, she stopped me and hit me hard in the abdomen with her iron pipe. And as I lay on the ground, she smashed her pipe into my knee too, laughing. Thomas and I lay sore on the ground. Neither of us knew where the woman was, but luckily she was nowhere near. We started trying to stand up when suddenly I saw her again and gave a loud scream. The woman had returned with a bucket of gasoline, which she was pouring into the car with the children inside.
No!
Stop!
You know, I never really cared for that horrible frame. You know what? I hate families like you, particularly the kids.
I tried to crawl as fast as I could to somehow stop her. Thomas was doing it too, but he was a little further behind. When I saw her pull out the lighter, I knew all was lost. There was no way I was going to make it in time. Suddenly, a man rammed the woman, and another woman opened the car door and pulled the children out. By the time we realized it, the place was surrounded by people. There were few people in the Dollar Tree that day, but the commotion was enough to alert everyone. The police arrived a few seconds later and arrested the lady, who was moving brutally like a wild animal. Shortly after, the family of this girl offered us a huge amount of money not to denounce this woman, but we refused. Our story became known, and many people donated a lot of money to us since neither of us could work. We were not going to have a luxurious life, but we were going to be much more comfortable, thanks to the people who knew our story. On the other hand, the woman not only lost her lawsuit, but was disinherited by the family who sought to disinherit her. This woman had never worked before, but when she gets out of jail, she will have to work for the first time so as not to starve to death. This story is based on the above footage, where you saw a strange man scaring the hell out of the customers as well as employees. It's been 2 years since I had taken my job as a cashier at Kmart. Every day we would face customers with bad attitudes and weird behavior, but nothing ever surpassed that one-time experience I had during my early days of joining here. Kmart is the biggest retail store in this town and is often filled with customers. A lot of people work here, among which Jenny and I manage the counters. She is a free-spirited woman and also pretty good at handling rude or weird customers. So when those 2 suspicious-looking men walked into the store, I called out to her, "Jenny? Jenny?" "What happened?" she replied while organizing the cash register. "What do you think about those 2 men?" "Probably some homeless nut jobs." She went back to organizing the register, and I kept a close eye on them. The 2 men looked like a weird combination. One of them was excessively overweight and was wearing a white t-shirt with boxers. There were mustard and ketchup stains all over his clothes. Smeared ketchup was still hanging around his chin. The second guy had a well-built body. He was wearing a loose t-shirt with an old pair of jeans. Though everything seemed normal from his attire, his face had a strange look. His eyes were loitering everywhere, cluelessly. It was evident from their behavior that these 2 men weren't in the best condition of their lives, but who am I to judge people? "Seriously, stop staring at them. We're only here to do our job, Camilla." Yeah, you're right. I'm sorry. "Can you go check the storeroom for more pamphlets? Ms. Orbison wants us to distribute them to the customers, money-hungry woman." "Yeah, I'll get them." Leaving her at the counter, I went to get the pamphlets. Our cleaning staff, Jeffrey and Samuel, were mopping the floors. They both smiled at me, and I smiled back. After 5 minutes, when I was walking back to the counter, the man smeared in ketchup approached me from behind.
"Excuse me, lady. You, Kmart lady."
Hearing this, I turned back to talk to him. "Are you talking to me?"
"Yes, you are a Kmart employee and you are a lady. At least you look like one."
"I'm sorry, but is this some kind of joke?"
'Cause if it is, it's not funny at all.
Is this, how you should be talking to us?
Now, the other guy appeared, and both of them stared at me as if they had never seen a woman. Their eyes were scanning me as if they could see inside my clothes. The fat one wiped his face with his shirt and said,
We just wanted to find the instant noodles. Can you help us, Kmart lady?
The noodles are in the 5th aisle of the 3rd left row in the corner, and my name is Camilla, not Kmart lady.
Whoa, why is she talking to us like that, huh? Why?
Relax, Kyle. She means no harm. Thank you, Camilla, for your assistance.
The fat guy began to walk, but his companion Kyle stood there, staring at me with angry eyes. He was breathing heavily, and I realized I had seriously pissed this customer off. I quickly went back to the counter and told everything to Jenny.
What? No, Camilla, you cannot talk to the customers like that. No matter how rude they are, it's their money that pays our bills. I'm sorry. He was being... Look, Camilla, if you want this job, then bury your self-respect inside.
I calmed myself down as I realized everything Jenny said was right. I need this job badly. I can't lose it because of some idiots. My anger slowly mellowed down, and I started concentrating on work. Customers formed a queue, and I started billing them one by one. Camilla was handling the cash, and everything was in order until I saw those 2 freaks standing in line next. The fat guy was smiling at me in a very creepy way, while Kyle kept his head down.
Please, don't fuck this up,
Jenny said to me in a low voice, and I braced myself for more insults. Slowly, they approached my counter. I didn't say anything and just quickly did my job. I handed them the receipt and waited for the customer behind them to move forward. But the guy didn't budge. The fat man stood still at my counter. He wasn't moving, even though he was done.
Sir, you need to move so others can approach the counter.
Oh, now she's calling me sir. Did your boss give you some pep talk there, Barbie?
Enough is enough. Listen, you fatso, if you don't move away from my face right now, I'll make sure you get kicked out of here.
Ugh, why is she screaming like that? What the hell?
Kyle, just relax, man. It's all right.
No, it's not! They think they can treat us like shit. I'll show them shit!
Suddenly, this dude Kyle started acting up. He snapped out from nowhere, and his body started to shake and fidget uncontrollably. Everyone watched in shock as this man started to destroy the store while kicking and punching every single aisle. He ran like a maniac while screaming God knows what.
Security! Security!
Jenny started screaming for help, and I couldn't help but begin to cry. The fat guy sensed the unwanted trouble. He picked up his shopping bag and started to run to the exit. His friend Kyle came running to the counter and started to take his clothes off. The man was insane. He took off his belt, pulled his trousers down, and then picked up a milk jug. He screamed once again.
You can't treat us like this! We are not scum!
And then he started pouring the milk over his head. The store was a complete mess. People were panicking, seeing this man's behavior. Finally, the Kmart security rushed in. They dragged the guy out. When the police came over, we found out these 2 homeless men robbed an old lady in the park before coming to Kmart. The fat guy was arrested later that day. Both of them are behind bars now. I don't know whose fault it was that day, but it makes me sad to think about the kind of paths people choose to make money in this world, even if it ends up driving them crazy.
My name is Kevin, and I used to be an urban exploration YouTuber. I must admit that my channel wasn't the one with the most views, but I already had a lot of loyal fans that would watch me no matter what. I started making horror videos where I would enter haunted houses or unfinished buildings with friends, but after a while, I started to get bored. I never saw anything paranormal. My views also went down. Apparently, horror was no longer trendy. I started to see what channels similar to mine were doing to stay relevant, and they all seemed to follow the same trend. Challenges. 24 hours in Walmart, 24 hours locked in Dollar Tree, 24 hours in Best Buy. I clicked on one of those videos and watched as other urban explorers hid in different parts of the supermarket, came out, and started filming the place at night. I couldn't figure out what was so interesting about it, but the views of these people were incredible, so I had to take advantage of this opportunity. I headed to a Kmart that was a few blocks from my house. I couldn't bring any food or water since they would check me before I went in, but I had some money, and this Kmart had its own food court. I spent the day eating, going to some free games, and wandering all over the supermarket. Several hours passed until a guard grabbed my arm and stopped me.
Boy, what are you doing?
What do you mean? I'm shopping.
Bullshit. You've been hanging around here for hours. You're planning to steal, aren't you?
I don't know what you're talking about, sir. I'm just shopping. If I'm late, it's because I'm buying time to get back to my house.
Take off your jacket right now.
After looking it up and down and touching my pockets without my permission, he gave me back the jacket.
Get out as soon as you can, and don't try anything funny. I'll be watching you, kid.
After that, all the guards started to look at me strangely, so I avoided them as much as I could, or stayed in the bathroom for long periods. In the meantime, I watched my cell phone battery and filmed myself from time to time so I could make the video later. Around closing time, I found the perfect hiding place, in the mattress section. There were several holes I could squeeze through. I waited until there were no guards around, slipped out quickly, and after filming the hiding place, I fell asleep. I woke up to the vibration of my cell phone. It was the alarm that indicated it was 3 a.m. I thought I heard a noise outside, so I slowly peeked out of the small space I had crawled through. After trying to look out, I could not hide my fear of what I had just seen. It was a person staring at me from behind the hole. Something was wrong. His face was torn and his piercing eyes full of veins were looking everywhere and nowhere at once. His bald head revealed many spots extending to the back of his neck, and his few remaining teeth seemed intentionally sharpened. This person was trying to get inside, but suddenly a pair of legs passed by him and something pulled him by the neck. As I listened as the footsteps moved away, I looked out to see what had happened and saw them. A man in a tunic was walking casually away. In his hand, he held a leash carrying this man who was in his underwear and smelled everywhere as if he was some kind of wild animal. Terrified, I came out of my hiding place and filmed this person from behind, avoiding at all times for him to see me. After taking a few steps, I looked to my side and my eyes widened. There were women in robes standing around an unconscious man. There were red candles everywhere, and they were making strange lipstick drawings on him. Far behind them, a man in a blank white mask was trying to climb up the shelves and shouting, looking around. At that moment, I discovered that these were casual invaders. The whole Kmart was surrounded by them. I heard footsteps and voices all over the place. It was a miracle that so far, no one had seen me. I ran desperately to my hiding place, and with tears in my eyes, I entered without making a noise and immediately covered the hole. Already in the dark, I took a deep breath and turned on my cell phone again. But as soon as the whole space was illuminated, I was met with eyes I had seen before. The animalistic-looking man was in front of me, waiting for me. I carefully ran across the mattress to get away, but it was too late. Whoever my attacker was already on top of me.
Please don't! I just wanted to make a video! I just wanted people to see me!
These words meant nothing to my attacker, and I knew it, but I needed to say them anyway. Ignoring me, this being put 4 fingers inside my mouth and began to pull down. An inexplicable pain shot through my jaw. I felt that all my nerves were reacting, and that any moment my jaw was going to be detached from my mouth. I tried to kick and throw punches, but it was all in vain. I was going to die for making a stupid video, and I wasn't even going to understand why. The skin on my mouth was starting to lose resistance when suddenly a voice shouted in the distance.
Pedro, where have you gone? Come here!
As soon as the words finished echoing through the hiding place, the being stopped its attack and ran away, forgetting about my existence and leaving me alone. I covered the place again with the mattress and lay there in the darkness, breathing deeply and paralysed. In the morning, I still had not been able to close my eyes from the experience I had lived the night before. Suddenly, a ray of light entered my hiding place, and before I could understand what was happening, the policeman from the day before pulled me by the neck and slammed me against the wall.
What the hell are you doing here, you fucking brat? Ugh.
Without letting me finish, and still holding me by the neck, he pushed my body again and again against the wall.
I told you not to try anything funny. Are you stupid? What the hell did you see last night? Are you alone?
The man slammed me harder, and not knowing what to say to him, I grabbed my cell phone from my pocket and pointed it at him. I had to think of a lie fast, or I could end up dead.
Don't do anything to me. I'm in the middle of a live broadcast, okay? Everyone will know your face.
What?
I took advantage of that moment of distraction to kick him and run. I sped out of the Kmart, and to my surprise, the man was running after me. Fortunately for me, our age difference was noticeable, and after a few blocks, I lost him. As soon as I got home, I unlinked as many things as I could from that cell phone and permanently closed my YouTube channel. My brother was very computer savvy, so with his help, I managed to get into the deep levels of the deep web to investigate. I found out that during the night, some supermarket chains are the meeting point for various cults and sects composed of dark and dangerous people. The authorities of these places not only know what is going on, but because they are linked to powerful people, they allow it. I found out that the being who had attacked me was just another victim. One of the thousands of people who had been kidnapped or sold as a baby, then tortured and trained to the point of believing that he was nothing more than an obedient animal. After reading all this, my brother started to laugh and asked me why I was looking for this. I laughed with him and never told him, or anyone else, the truth. I permanently abandoned urban explorations and my dream of being famous, and from that night on, I spent my days in hiding, praying that no one would come looking for me or my family.
I'm sure those who work in line waitressing are very familiar with weird customers. When I started working for Chipotle, I was 19 years old, fresh out of high school and looking for a job to pay for college. My dad wanted to help me, but I desired to do this on my own. I have always been a headstrong woman. So, it was a chilly winter night. I was working the late night shift at Chipotle. With me were Ryder at the register and Tamara in the kitchen working that night. It was around 8 p.m. I was cleaning a table after the customers left when I heard a loud noise of tires screeching outside the restaurant. I looked at Ryder, who was standing close to a window, so he could see better than me what was happening outside. I noticed his face, and he looked tense. For a second, I thought we were going to get robbed, but then Ryder said in a disappointed voice,
Women should never drive.
"Why? What happened?"
Nothing. She just pushed the brake too quick. Anyways.
He casually walked back to the counter, and I didn't bother to check outside. A few more customers came in, and I was attending them one by one when the restaurant door pushed open and a woman walked in. Like everyone, she too was wearing warm clothes due to the snowfall outside. She got inside, took the extreme corner seat on the left, and kept her head down. I quickly walked to the counter, seeing Ryder staring at the woman. "Hey, stop staring like that. What the hell is wrong with you?"
What? No, I know her.
"Yeah, right. That's your disease. You think you know every woman in the world."
Shut up. No, I'm serious. I just saw her outside. She was the one who pushed the brake too hard.
Oh God, so what? Maybe she did. That doesn't make her crazy.
No, you don't know. I saw her talking to herself standing outside her car. She was shaking her head and talking to herself.
Maybe she's a little drunk. That explains the reckless driving as well.
Maybe.
You're just overthinking it. I walked to her table to take her order. This entire time, she sat the same way. Still, head down, hands on her lap. Even seeing me approach, she didn't move an inch. Welcome to Chipotle. May I take your order, ma'am? Nothing. I asked again. Your order, ma'am? Again, no answer. Head down, sitting still like a statue. For a second, I thought she might have fallen sick or deeply asleep, so I stooped down a little bit. That's when she suddenly looked up, scaring the hell out of me.
What? No. I mean, when will you take my order? I've been waiting for hours.
Despite me calling her not once but twice, she spoke to me very rudely. But I am a waitress, and I have had my fair share of screaming customers. I kept my calm and then said, I apologize for the delay. What would you like to order, ma'am?
1 steak taco, 1 burrito bowl to go with a tractor lemonade, and make it fast. I don't have all night.
Sure, we will try our best. I turned around to walk away when the woman said in a low voice, Blonde dummy. My blood boiled. I wanted to slap the hell out of her, but it was her lucky day. I stormed into the kitchen with her order.
What a bitch. Ryder was right about her. Someone looks pissed off. We have a crazy customer tonight, Tamara. Relax, we're trained to handle them. So what does the freak want?
I handed Tamara the order slip, and she began cooking. Feeling thirsty, I went to the water dispenser. While filling the glass, I looked at the woman from the corner of my eye. She was back to her sloth-like position. No one would have believed that she screamed at me like a mad crow just a few moments back. 2 other customers walked in, so I ignored her and went to help them. The snowfall was getting heavy outside, and the number of customers was getting fewer with the night passing. 5 minutes later, Tamara rang the bell, and I understood the crazy woman's food was ready. I picked up her meal and went to her table. I wanted to keep it very short, so I placed her food on the table and said,
Enjoy your food. What about the ma'am? Sorry? You're supposed to call me ma'am. Now I can guess how you got this job. Excuse me? What do you mean?
She suddenly got up from her table, came close to my face, and started screaming at me.
I mean, you're bad at waitressing, slut. What the hell? You girls think the world is on the tip of your shoes, and you just have to be pretty to get by, but I'm here to give you a reality check. Wake up, Angel. You are not in heaven anymore.
Tears rolled down my eyes as she insulted me in front of everyone. Seeing me break, Ryder screamed from the counter.
Finish your food and leave, or we're gonna have to call the cops.
The woman gave a death stare to Ryder, and then a huge grin appeared on her face. She sat down, and without speaking another word, began to eat her food. She didn't apologize to me, but at the same time went extremely quiet with the mentioning of the cops. I wiped my eyes and went to the counter. Ryder consoled me and told me not to cry.
Just let her come to the counter. I'll teach her a lesson, Tilly. Please don't cry.
I'm fine. It's just, no one ever talked to me like that. She doesn't even know me, and she called me a slut.
Well, she is a jerk, okay? Let's go with that conclusion.
Once Ryder calmed me down, I decided to call it a night. We were down to the last 3 customers anyway, and we were sure no one would stop by on this snowy night. Tamara cleaned the kitchen, and I was collecting the tips. The last 3 customers, including that woman, approached the counter to pay. Ryder made her wait while making excuses that he had to check the register once. The woman quietly waited at the counter. I could see her eyes getting wide in anger. Her lips were trembling as if she would snap at any moment.
Is this how you treat your customers?
No, just the crazy ones, ma'am.
I see.
And that's when the freak show began. She suddenly got all raged up and started to destroy the restaurant. She kicked the chair near her and then turned over the containers kept on the counter. She also pushed away from the computer, which almost hit Ryder. Shocked by her extreme outburst, Ryder forgot to react.
You want to call the cops? Fine, go ahead!
She then ran to the water dispenser, picked up the half-filled tub, and rushed back to the counter. Aiming at Ryder, she threw the water-filled tub at him. In that cold night, Ryder not only got drenched, but also the heavy tub hit him in the face, resulting in a bruise. The other customer standing next to her started to scream in panic and moved away from her.
I'll show you all! No one gets to threaten me!
The restaurant was a mess. She was kicking and breaking everything within her reach. Tamara and I called the cops, but the woman's head was stuck in some other dimension. She just kept on rampaging the place. When the cops came and took her away, she was growling like an injured wolf. The owner filed charges against her, and she was thrown in jail. I just feel lucky that she had no weapons with her that night. Otherwise, God knows what more she would have done.
I have to admit that I've been a fan of WWE since I was a kid. I know that many people all over the world don't understand how WWE generates so much interest in people, but I know it's something from our country. It's like one of our national sports. As I grew up, my fanaticism grew more and more. My parents didn't like it, saying it would make me too violent, so I could never go see the fighters live. When I grew up, I started to pay for my own tickets without anyone being able to tell me anything, and I went to see them whenever I could. A few days later, after going to a WWE show, I went to my parents' house to visit them. As I walked in, my brother Joshua came running up to me.
Did you go see the Raw wrestlers? What were they like? Did they fight backstage?
Hi, Joshua. No, they are very professional. They fight only in the ring.
That's not true. Many times I saw them fight in the parking lot or backstage.
That's true, but there's always a camera on. Don't worry, you didn't miss any fights.
Hey, are they still in town? Can we go see them?
You know what Mom and Dad think about this. I don't think they'll agree.
Come on, Aiden. You have to ask them. I don't want to wait until I'm old like you to see them.
If you want me to do you a favor, you didn't start out on the right foot. But okay, I'll ask. Joshua was 15, but when we talked about WWE, he sounded like an 8-year-old. He was just as obsessed as I was as a kid. And I admit it, made me feel bad that they wouldn't let him go either. After all, I knew my parents' fears were unjustified. I spent the afternoon with them, and to my surprise, they agreed to let us go, only if I took care of them. They knew that I grew up with WWE and was a very healthy young man. Maybe it was time to modernize and accept that WWE is just healthy fun. When I told Joshua, he jumped with joy. I have never seen him so happy, and I gotta admit that as I watched him, my inner child was just as excited as he was. Getting tickets for Raw was not easy since they were almost sold out, but I made it. When we arrived, Joshua couldn't stop screaming with excitement. The Cedric Alexander versus Drew McIntyre fight was just about to start, but the main attraction was the referee.
Aiden, look! That's Kurt Angle! I'm looking at Kurt Angle! I know, right? I never imagined I'd see him in the ring.
The fight started, and my brother kept jumping up and down until a strange noise froze him, and he opened his eyes as if I'd never seen him before. The whole ring went black and terrifying music started to play. The Fiend had appeared in the ring, attacking the legendary Kurt Angle. I was enjoying the show, but Joshua was quiet, analyzing what was going on. When we walked out, I was still full of excitement for everything we saw, but Joshua was acting weird.
Hey, you're not freaked out by the Fiend, are you? He's just a fighter. No, I wasn't scared. The Fiend is great. He beat Kurt Angle with one move.
Oh, his answer caught me off guard. So, what's wrong with you?
I always thought fighters like Kurt Angle, Hulk Hogan, or The Rock were invincible. Do you think maybe they're not? Listen, Joshua, these wrestlers are ordinary people. We are all ordinary people. You, me, Mom, Dad, and even Hulk Hogan or The Fiend. Meaning I can be like The Fiend? You mean I can be like The Fiend? If I were, I wouldn't let anyone ever knock me out. Yeah, of course, but I don't think Mom and Dad would let you. Exactly.
Days went by, and my parents started to worry about Joshua. They would send me WhatsApp messages telling me that he was acting very strange. He hardly ate, didn't talk to them, and they suspected he was missing school. Every day I tried to calm them down, until one day they stopped sending me messages. That day I tried to write them, called both of them. I even asked Joshua, but nothing, no answer. I was really worried, so I decided to go over there and make sure everything was okay. As I walked in, I ran into Joshua, who started yelling at me in a panic, telling me I had to go to the kitchen. With no time to react, I ran in desperation, and when I got to the kitchen, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. Both my parents were on the floor in a huge pool of blood. They were both dead, with cuts all over their bodies. Whoever attacked them was very angry, as my dad had more than 20 stab wounds distributed in his arms, legs, head, and body. The knife was still embedded in his head, like a flag. Someone had also dragged them, as the floor was covered with marks. I turned around looking for Joshua. I had to get him out of there. But suddenly, I felt a hard blow to my ankle. I fell to the ground in pain, and I could see how my bone had slipped out of place, ripping my skin. Behind me was Joshua, wearing a mask of the Fiend and with my metal baseball bat in his hand.
Joshua! Why? You were right, brother. No one can forbid me from doing anything anymore. Damn it, Joshua. That was Mom and Dad. You stupid idiot. You've ruined your life. You've ruined it. My life has just begun. Soon I'll become like the Fiend, and I'll be the one giving the orders.
Before I could say anything, I heard someone grunting. It was my mother, who was somehow alive. She hadn't received injuries like my dad's, but she had lost a lot of blood. But Joshua saw her too.
Joshua, no!
I tried to stand up, but I couldn't. Not only was I in immense pain from my foot, but a part of me was afraid to face my little brother. I know it may sound crazy, but I still loved him. I couldn't imagine hurting him. Without saying anything, Joshua started hitting her with the bat. Her head began to crack like a watermelon, exposing her entire brain. My mother was still shaking, but it was just a reflex. She was already dead. While I was still crying, I saw my brother, covered in my parents' blood, approach me.
Joshua, you're 15 years old, okay? The Fiend is an ordinary person. He is just an actor.
The only thing I remember is that before I could finish the sentence, Joshua hit me in the head with the bat, and everything went blurry. When I woke up, my head hurt terribly. I was very dizzy, and I couldn't see anything. I felt like I was suffocating. At that moment, I realized there was dirt all over my body. I was buried. I pulled myself forward and got out of the hole with great ease. I could tell that whoever had done this to me was very inexperienced. Full of pain, I limped to the kitchen, determined to stop my brother before he hurt someone else. But it was too late. When I found him, he was lying on top of my parents with his throat cut open and a knife in his hand.
No! 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 No!
The police arrived soon after and arrested me, but when they realized I was innocent, they let me go. The police found a letter my brother wrote before he committed suicide, but I didn't want to read it until many months later. When I opened it, I expected to find a remorseful Joshua, unable to deal with what he had done. But I was wrong. The letter said that he had already gotten rid of all his earthly ties. that he had already killed his parents and me, and that he was ready to become one with the fiend. When I checked his computer, I found in his browser history many Satanism and ritual internet pages where the users encouraged him to do everything he did. After that day, I decided to keep watching WWE, but the day I have children, I wasn't going to forbid them from watching it. No, I was going to accompany them and educate them while they did it.
I've been watching IMR Scary Tales for quite some time now. Recently, I was feeling the need to share an encounter that I once had in a dollar store when I was about 13 years old. My parents were going through a divorce at that time, so the ambience at home wasn't very ideal. We lived in a small neighborhood where I could barely make any friends. To pass my time, I used to sketch a lot. Saving my pocket money from side jobs, I would buy various art and crafts items to channel the amateur artist in me. Dollar Tree was my go-to place to buy everything, as things in there were pretty cheap and affordable. The Dollar Tree store was 3 blocks away, right next to the gas station on the highway. I would ride my bike there 2-3 times a week. It was a big store with a huge collection of all kinds of household materials, and even more than that. So this one time, I went to the store around 3 in the afternoon. I preferred this hour as very few customers used to be there then. Parking my bike at the corner, I entered the store. Long aisles packed with tall shelves, filled with all kinds of goods, stood in front of me. The cashier was dozing off, sitting behind his desk. I figured out that there were probably 2 to 3 people in here, excluding me. I started checking out the store. The art and craft section had a sale. I picked up a new set of charcoal pencils and some acrylic paint to decorate a flower pot. I was so into shopping that I didn't realize someone was standing behind me. I suddenly hear a hiccup and, being startled, turned around to see a man dressed as Jack Sparrow from the famous Johnny Depp movie was standing behind me. It was a closed space, so there was barely a gap between us. Feeling discomfort, I moved away from him a little and said,
Sorry, I didn't see you there.
But I saw you, eh?
At first I thought he was just being in character, but with the way his hiccups appeared, I realized this dude was drunk as a skunk. His pupils were dilated, and I could smell the whiskey on his clothes.
Why are you dressed like that?
Just like what?
Like Jack Sparrow.
His mouth opened wide in shock, like I've said something unexpected. He just stared at me. Eyes wide, mouth open, overall very creepy, and then said in a greasy voice,
But I thought, I am Jack Sparrow.
What?
Oh, you are laughing. So, you don't believe me, huh?
Suddenly his face changed. His eyebrows frowned, and I could tell he felt insulted by my sarcastic laugh. Not knowing how to answer a stupid question from a drunk, I stood there with an awkward face.
Answer your captain, you lowlife!
You are the shittiest Jack Sparrow I've ever seen in my whole life, moron!
Saying this, I turned around to leave him be. Luckily, the man didn't follow me. After a while, I walked to the cashier to pay. I gave a quick scan of the store and realized the man wasn't in there anymore. Feeling relieved, I came out of the store, and that's when my nightmare began. I remember very well where I parked my bike, and to my surprise, it wasn't there. My stomach dropped as I heard a burst of spine-chilling laughter, followed by a ring of a bicycle bell. It came from the dark parking lot at some distance. There was no one around to whom I could ask for help, but I was adamant too.
I'm not going home without my bike!
With trembling steps, I walked into the parking lot. There were a few cars, and the light in the parking lot was blinking like crazy. It took some time for my eyes to adjust to that creepy ambience, but what I saw made my skin crawl. The creepy Jack Sparrow was sitting on my bike, parked right at the end of the parking lot. I couldn't make out his face, but I am sure he was smiling creepily when he noticed me go in there. He suddenly screamed.
You need to find yourself a girl, mate!
Saying this, he paddled faster, almost like a fired bullet, and began to come at me. Having enough at that point, I screamed and started to run for my life. I was running, and I heard the man laugh like a maniac. He was chasing me on my bike, and I don't even know why. All I know is that if he catches me, he surely won't let me go unharmed.
I'm gonna catch ya. I'm gonna catch ya.
Leaving the parking lot behind, I began running down the highway. Just my luck, no car was seen there. Almost in a panic, I ran in the opposite direction instead of going into the dollar store. The man was now riding my bike on the highway and laughing even more loudly. He was having fun, scaring the shit out of me. The scorching heat was draining me. I was getting tired, hence slow. I could hear the psycho Sparrow paddling faster. It felt like I would never be able to outrun him. I was almost on the verge of collapsing in the middle of the road when I saw a big truck coming my way. Seeing it, the urge to live again blossomed in my heart. I started to move my hands up and down in the air while screaming at the truck.
Stop! Please! Stop the truck! I need help! Stop!
The truck driver noticed me, and he honked the horn. I turned back and saw the man had stopped paddling. He looked at me, and then at the truck, and then back to me again. Realizing the truck will stop for me, and I have nothing to be scared of now, his angry eyes burnt in hatred. The evil joy from his face disappeared, and he slowly got up from my bike. He then kicked it to make it fall on the concrete road. My cycle bell broke, and he ran into the woods. When the truck driver picked me up on my cycle, I was completely exhausted, drenched in my own sweat, breathing heavily as I gasped for air.
I need to get home. Just, please take me home. Please.
Except for directing the way to my house, I didn't speak a single word to the truck driver. When he dropped me home, I thanked him for his help and went straight into my room. I didn't go out for almost a week. Every time I heard a bicycle bell, I got goosebumps. The reason I never shared this experience is that no one will ever take it as a threat. Everyone will assume that the crazy guy dressed as Jack Sparrow was only joking with me. Not a single night goes by of me having a nightmare about that psycho man riding my bike while chasing me in a Jack Sparrow costume.
To be precise, I was about 23 years old when this occurred. My boyfriend Mike and I had been out visiting with friends, and we left their house late, around 2 a.m. Now, I've never been much of a drinker like my boyfriend, so I did the driving. On our way back, we decided to stop by the Waffle House for some late-night cravings, as it was the only place where we could get takeout at that hour. So we arrived at the Waffle House, and I went inside to pick up our order. As I was paying for the order, a young man to my left began pacing and mumbling angrily, muttering something I couldn't understand. I didn't think much of it, since most diner patrons are either drunk or truck drivers at that time of day. When I collected the food and turned to leave, I noticed a young woman outside of the diner. She, too, was angrily pacing back and forth, grimacing and cursing. As I made my way out, the young man started to follow me. I sidestepped the woman to get to the parking lot. Now the duo was following me. My boyfriend was passed out in the passenger seat, and I quickly got in and locked the car door. Surprisingly, the man and the woman stopped and then headed toward their car, a red pickup truck. The young man had gotten into the car, and the young woman sat in the passenger seat. "Bloody creeps," I said to myself. As I put my car into reverse, the man drove the pickup truck straight to the exiting lane and blocked my way. The man then got out and came running to my window. He started knocking ferociously on my driver's side window and yelled at me.
Open up! We need to talk, lady!
My boyfriend woke up, hearing the ruckus, and we exchanged a confused look, noticing this man's behavior. I unrolled the car window about an inch, to talk things out.
You stole my girlfriend's wallet, and you'd better give it fucking back right the fuck now!
I have no idea what you're talking about. I have my wallet, and that's it.
You fucking stole it from the counter, and we're getting it back one way or another!
Dude, I didn't steal shit. Move your car, or I'm gonna back into it.
You give it back to me right now! Or give me yours, or you're fucking dead! Move! Are you crazy? No! Your girl here is a thief!
Just then, another car honked, and we saw a new car was coming to the parking lot. The man's demeanor changed all of a sudden, seeing other people. He quickly walked to his car, moved it, and left the parking lot, just like that. Thinking the third person's presence scared him off, I heaved a sigh of relief. My boyfriend looked at me and asked,
What the hell happened in the Waffle House?
Nothing. These wackos were being weird from the start.
Let's go home.
Yeah. I rolled up the window and backed my car up a few inches. Then I exited the parking lot. At that point, my boyfriend and I were taken aback more than anything else. We got on the highway. Just then, we heard loud honks in the distance. It was the same red pickup truck. The man was driving like an absolute maniac, dodging other cars, traffic lights, and stop signs until he got so close to us that their car nearly rammed our back bumper. I weaved in and out of the sparse traffic as safely as I could in an attempt to throw them off of our route. Each time, he'd managed to pull behind us again. He clicked his headlights on and off the bright setting. He leaned on the horn. Inside our car, it was blinding and deafening. I sure as hell wasn't going home so that this psycho, deranged couple would know where we lived. I swear, it was almost like I could hear him, still screaming, even over the blaring car horn. My boyfriend and I didn't do much talking, as I suppose we were both shocked and trying to figure out what to do.
Fuck this. We're going to the police station.
I doubled back, the car still bearing down on us. When I pulled into the police station, they followed. I locked my car doors, picked up my cell, and began to ring the station because I sure as shit wasn't going to get out of my car. The man practically ran out of his car and up to my window, again banging and yelling. I'd gone way beyond concerned and scared to absolutely pissed. And the woman came out too and started knocking on Mike's side window. You can imagine how terrifying it was being attacked by two people standing on our left and right and constantly banging and screaming at us.
We want our goddamn money!
Leave me the fuck alone! I'll let the fucking cops search me for your girlfriend's fucking wallet!
Just then, they both went silent, stopped the banging and cursing, and kept staring at us with their creepy big eyes. The man's right eye twitched in a very scary way. Realizing I finally have the chance to set them straight, I said,
I'm on the phone with the cops right now.
If you don't have it, I guess you don't have it.
Yeah, maybe I left it in the back seat.
He then sprinted back to his car with his sour-faced girlfriend and sped out of there. I stayed in the police station's parking lot for a while, talking to the cops on duty. When we finally left at about 3:30 a.m., I still made several loops through town before eventually heading home, arriving after 4 a.m. Legally, nothing came of the incident, but a few months after it, we were having dinner at home and watching TV. Mike suddenly changed it to the news channel, and there they were, that unhinged, crazy couple. The reporter was saying,
Last night, the patrolling cops of Highway 13 chased a suspicious red pickup truck when they saw blood dripping from its back. The man driving that truck has been identified as Jeremy Higgins. His girlfriend Susie McGarry was also in that truck. The cops pulled them over, and as they checked the truck, they found a teenage boy, unconscious, bleeding from his head. The teenage boy, Ashton Laurel, was walking home after a study session from his friend's house. He later said that the duo offered him a lift. and then started to physically harass this boy. He put up a fight, and out of panic, the girlfriend Susie hit him on the head with a spanner. Thinking he was dead from the blow, they hid his body in the back of the pickup truck. If not for the cops following them, they would have surely dumped the injured boy somewhere in the woods. Luckily, Ashton made it out alive once he was rushed to the hospital. His parents are in tears after having their kid back home. The cops were highly appreciated by Mayor Jefferson for their sincerity and sense of duty. As for Jeremy Higgins and Susie McGarry, prison bars await.
Mike and I were out of words. We were happy that finally these two psychos were going to stay behind bars, but also the thought of being able to save ourselves that night gave me chills.
This happened last year. We live in a small town in Texas, and it was a week before the 4th of July. The town mayor decided to celebrate Independence Day with a barbecue and fireworks at the big field near the community center. Everyone was pretty excited to go there, except me. I had a dog named Macy back then. I hated fireworks, as they would scare her to death. But under my parents' pressure, I had to attend the event on July 4th, leaving Macy at home, locked up in the basement. Macy is a Pomeranian and has a bad temper when she's agitated. So, putting her in the basement was my only option to keep her calm on the night of July 4th. I kissed her goodbye and got in the car with my parents to head to the community center. Upon reaching there, I realized the entire town had gathered there. People were laughing and enjoying food cooked in the open air. A group of people were seen setting the fireworks at the end of the field, out there in safety. I was always an introvert and preferred dogs over humans, so I didn't feel the urge to strike up conversations with any kid of my age present there. On the other hand, my mom and dad went straight to the mayor's family and started chatting with them. My dad owned the biggest milk factory in the town, so keeping the mayor happy was always his biggest concern in life. My mom would join him as a perfect companion. Well, they were doing what they had to do, so I isolated myself from them pretty quickly. The mayor's wife, Fiona, was a weird lady. She always dressed up younger than her age, which ultimately made her look even older. And every time she saw me, she would pull my cheeks so hard, and one time I even got a blood clot. So, avoiding all of that without getting noticed, I went to this small barbecue stall that was roasting some lamb. I got some for myself and went to watch the 4th of July parade. People were laughing and enjoying the evening. The marching band consisted of a group of 10 to 15 men playing the drums and clarinets, marching in synchronized harmony. Their extravagant costumes, topped with a white feather hat, made them look pretty funny. I was standing there watching them, enjoying my roasted lamb. Kids were cheering in joy seeing the band. Everything was going perfectly fine when a small accident happened. A man in the marching band suddenly tripped and fell on the muddy green field. I was standing close to the man, hence when he fell, and I casually chuckled. Though he wasn't hurt, the mud kind of ruined his red-white uniform. A patch of dirt stuck to his face when he got up and looked at me. I stopped laughing as our eyes met. There was anger in his owl-like eyes that gave me goosebumps. I stopped laughing. He rejoined the band after dusting the dirt from his clothes, and I went back to the barbecue. I ate some more, and when I was full, I wanted to go back home and play some video games. I was worried for Macy as well, so I went to my parents, who were busy drinking with our neighbors. Mom? I think I better go home. Macy will get scared all alone.
You want to leave now?
Come on, just stay till the fireworks.
No, Dad, I better go home and be with Macy. I already ate, so...
Well, who's gonna give you a ride now? Everyone's here, and I'm drunk already.
It's fine. I'll just walk.
You sure, darling?
Yes, Mom.
Okay. Call us once you get home, all right?
I will. Leaving the joyful evening and cheering faces behind, I began to head home. The streets were so empty that at one point, it felt like the entire town had been evacuated overnight. I was walking alone and could hear people cheering. The sound of the marching band slowly faded away. It got so quiet all of a sudden that I could hear the night sounds, which were so long subdued by the 4th of July celebration. The sounds of crickets and frogs came from the woods. A huge black bat flew over my head, making a disturbing screeching sound, and I almost screamed.
I didn't expect you to be such an easy scare.
I turned back in shock and saw that it was that man from the marching band. He was still wearing his outrageous uniform. I didn't see you were walking behind me. When did you... He didn't let me finish and said,
You like laughing at people, huh?
What?
People's misery is fun to you, huh?
No, I didn't mean to. Wait, are you following me?
I had to make sure you reached home safely. After all, there's no one here to save you if you get in trouble.
The words came out of his mouth like a twisted warning. I had no idea how long this freak was following me, but I knew he was right. I'm standing in a deserted street with a weird stranger whom I've pissed off. One wrong move can get me in serious trouble, no doubt. Keeping my calm and using my brain, I decided to apologize. Look, I'm sorry. It wasn't my intention to insult you.
Do you mean this? Or you're just saying it to get rid of me?
No, I mean it. I really, truly...
Okay, still no reason I can't walk you home. After all, you're just a kid, and life is a nightmare.
At this point, I've had enough. This man has come here for revenge, and he's gonna take it one way or another. Suddenly, a firework struck right above us, lighting the sky, and I began to run towards my house. The man screamed from behind.
Where are you going? We just became friends!
We'll never be friends, you freak! Now he began to chase me. He had long legs and arms. So, when he ran, stretching them to catch me, I got even more freaked out. I made my way through the sidewalks, cutting to a small lane for a shortcut, and the man followed. He yelled while running.
You insulted me, and then lied to me, and insulted me again! You have huge guts, kid! I shall teach you some manners! Stop! Stop, you little prick! Leave me alone!
But he didn't. I jumped on the porch once I reached home and took out the keys to unlock the door. My hands were shaking. My body was sweating in fear as I struggled to unlock the door. The key fell from my hand out of nervousness, and I saw him. The man had entered our yard by jumping over the fences.
Bloody hell!
I picked up the key and finally unlocked the door. Once I got in, the man got on the porch. But before he could grab me, I slammed the door right on his face, locking him outside. He slowly slid to the window next to our door and watched me. For a moment, I thought he would break the glass window and get in, but luckily, he didn't. The fireworks began, and in that shower of colorful lightning and ear-bursting loud crackles, the man and I stood like two statues. He was staring at me while smiling like a psycho. I took out my phone from my pocket and screamed at him, saying,
I'm gonna call my parents right now! You better leave, or you're gonna rot in jail!
My threat didn't bother him at all. He looked up at the sky and then wiped his face.
I regret not running faster. But don't worry. This isn't the end. No. I'll see you next year. Same day, same time.
He then turned around to leave, but again looked back at me and said,
Happy 4th of July! Use your freedom wisely.
I haven't seen that man since. But now that Independence Day is coming closer, I'm terrified to go out and celebrate the 4th of July in this town.
Well, wrestling is fake, all right? No, where the hell are you been? Come on, there with you, huh? Wrestling is fake. But you know what I mean. It's entertainment. I don't know what you mean. Well, it's entertainment. It's not real fighting. Or not.
When I was a kid, I used to be obsessed with WWE. My room had posters of all the famous fighters from Undertaker to The Big Show. So when I turned 18 and my uncle bought me a ticket to my first WWE match, no one in my family could stop me from going there. I didn't ask anyone to join me because I wanted to witness the fight uninterrupted. I drove to Madison Square Garden where the match was held. It was Undertaker versus Triple H,
so you could imagine my level of excitement. All the fans of WWE were gathered there. I made my way through the crowd of people and finally found my seat. I might have only taken a sip or two of my cold drinks, but that's when I felt a little weird, like something was different around me. As I turned to my left, I noticed him for the first time. A skinny, pale man was sitting beside me. Even though nothing was striking in his appearance, his eyes gave me the creeps. He had these big, yet drowsy eyes, like he had just recovered from some critical disease. His head turned slowly toward me and we exchanged a gaze. I smiled awkwardly, but his face remained void. There was no reaction, not even an eyebrow twitch. He kept staring at me without blinking, and that's when the announcement happened. Undertaker entered and the crowd jumped off their seats. I never screamed so loud in my life before. The sound of the applause of fans cheering gave me goosebumps the moment I saw my favorite WWE fighter appear on the stage. Undertaker rolled his eyes and stuck his tongue out. It was his signature move, and I felt like I was 9 again. It was like a dream come true. Though everyone was going nuts at the moment, the man beside me didn't get up or even cheer. He just sat there like a lump of clay. No emotions, no expressions, nothing. Undertaker and Triple H entered the ring and I sat down. People went on cheering and the fight began. They were dissing each other as they do, and for the first time, the man beside me spoke.
Here comes a punch.
What? What did you say?
Before I could clarify this matter, I heard the stadium go crazy and Undertaker threw a punch at Triple H. Even though I couldn't hear what the man said, I surely did hear him say the word punch. Seeing me staring at him with a confused face, the man turned toward me and smiled. He then raised his bony head and pointed the ring with his filthy index finger and said,
Time for an elbow drop.
I immediately looked at the ring and saw Undertaker climbing the ropes and getting ready to do the same move the man had just mentioned. He elbow dropped, and Triple H grabbed his stomach in pain. The crowd went crazy. I would have too, if not for this man sitting next to me. The dream match of my life was slowly turning into a scary movie. The man predicted the next move, and the move after that too. No one heard him except me, so it was only my face that turned pale in fear at that moment. But he was the same. Watching that match with his drowsy yet creepy eyes, and smiling in between like a deranged person. I decided to change my seat, so I thought to get up when the man turned toward me and said,
You are going to cut yourself.
What?
Soon, there will be blood coming out of you.
Are you fucking insane?
Just in a few seconds.
He laughed and I got up to leave right then. But as I grabbed the seat in front of me for support, I failed to notice the sharp iron rod peeking out from the corner. And his prediction was true again. Blood came out of my palm, and I looked back at the man. He was staring at me already, but this time he wasn't smiling. He said in a low voice,
Punch, ankle lock, and here comes the Undertaker tombstone.
His eyeballs started to move fast, and everything he said kept on happening. I had enough, so I called out to him.
What the hell is wrong with you? What do you want?
Hearing me screaming, the man sitting in front of me finally intervened.
Stop screaming. Let me watch the match.
Tell him! It's all because of him!
I pointed out to this psycho and the man in front of me looked at him. He then looked back at me and said,
How much did you drink, bro?
What?
The seat beside you is vacant. There's no one in it.
He went back to watch the match thinking I was drunk and I froze in my seat. I wanted to move my body, but I couldn't. I slowly turned my head to the left, and right where I was talking to this man the entire time, I found the seat empty. No one was there. The seat was vacant. I searched as far as my eyes could go, but I didn't see this guy anywhere. The rest of the match was ruined for me already. When it ended and I came out, I went straight to the bathroom. I splashed water on my face and somehow got my shit together. Maybe this guy was just kidding me? Maybe they both knew each other and pranked me. I was trying hard to explain it to myself, but nothing came to my mind. I went there 2 days after. It was a holiday, so except for the cleaning stuff, I saw no one. I wandered in the corridor aimlessly, and then suddenly my eyes went to the left wall. A picture was hanging on the wall, and under it, a bunch of candles were burning. The moment I saw the photo, a shiver ran down my spine. It was that same man whom I saw 2 days earlier. It came as a shock that that man is dead, and not withholding my curiosity, I went straight to the cleaning guy and asked,
What happened? How did he die?
You know Larry?
His name is Larry?
Yeah, he used to work here. He knew everything about this place and those matches. Maybe that's why he was drowned last week.
Last week? He was drowned last week?
Yeah, he used to say that all WWE matches were fake. No one ever fought anyone and all the moves were already decided. He started spreading this rumor, so the fans got suspicious. The authority couldn't risk it anymore, so I think someone murdered him last week. His body was floating upside down on the lake. Are you okay? Why are you asking about Larry?
Nothing. I'm fine.
With trembling footsteps, I walked back to my car. I vomited in the parking lot before getting in. It was clear that Larry found a dark secret of the WWE authorities, and that's why he was silenced. But the fact that I saw a man who died a week before, while sitting in a stadium full of people, still unsettles me to my core.
You can call me old, but I'm one of those people who loves to get up in the morning. Whatever day it is, whether or not I have to work that day, I get up at 7 in the morning, shower, and go to breakfast at Waffle's house, my favorite place. All the morning shift employees already knew me. I was always the first customer, and since everything was quieter, I spent some time talking to the cashier. Everything was going great, until one day, my peaceful life would change forever. That day I woke up in the morning as usual. After showering, I went to Waffle's house for breakfast, but the first strange thing happened. The place was closed. I looked at my watch to make sure the time was right, and not only was I on time, but I was also a little late. I looked out the windows of the place and the kitchen lights were on, but the doors were closed. I made every effort to see if there was somebody under the kitchen door, some sign that someone was turning on the ovens or about to open the place.
Do you need something, sir?
A girl in a Waffle's House uniform was behind me laughing. The girl seemed very nice, but I didn't know her.
Oh, you gave me the scare of my life. I was just seeing if they were opening. I usually come here early.
A regular customer. Nice to meet you. I'm Ashley.
Nice to meet you.
I'm new around here. I'm supposed to open, but it's taking me a little longer than I thought. I guess I'm not the quickest person to follow instructions.
And they left you alone? They always have, 3 people opening the door.
I gave a little laugh so the girl wouldn't think I was calling her out.
Yep, that's what they told me. But apparently there was a massive firing, and the boss wants to start from scratch. They also hired a cook, but he's not very sociable, from what I can see.
Aw, that sucks.
Yeah, I'm grateful for getting the job, but I don't agree either. Well, I should keep on opening the place.
Oh, yes, of course. Sorry to keep you.
After giving me a little smile, the girl went to open the door. It was a Tuesday morning and not many people came today, so I was sure I was going to eat alone. As I entered, I greeted her with a gentle smile, placed my order, and sat patiently waiting for her. Time passed and passed, but my order did not arrive.
Slow day in the kitchen, isn't it?
It's okay.
No, I'll go check on it right away.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
With that said, the girl went to the kitchen, and the silence that flooded the room turned into screams.
If you're in such a hurry to get the food, why don't you make it yourself, you fucking bitch?
Don't be aggressive with me. I have a customer outside. I just came to see what was taking you so long.
And you think you could do better than me?
I'm sorry. You don't have to treat me like that. I'll let the customer know.
And you'll make me look bad?
No, I didn't say that. I just... Stop it! Why would you do that?
That was more than I could take. I got up with my chair and stormed off in the direction of the kitchen. I barged in, and to my surprise, the man was gone. Ashley was on the floor crying and clutching her face. I ran over and bent over to check her.
Hey, are you okay? Where's the cook?
Ashley kept crying, ignoring me.
Okay, I'll be right back. I'm gonna go look for that piece of shit.
I took a few steps into the kitchen and noticed something strange. I heard a thump a little further on, coming from a small closed room.
What the fuck?
Before I could react, I heard a man's voice behind me.
Who did you call a piece of shit, asshole?
I barely turned around. I couldn't even see the man's face as I received a very strong blow in the face that threw me almost a meter backward. The man had a lot of strength. He knocked me back as if it was nothing. When I looked up to see my attacker, I was shocked. In front of me, Ashley was standing.
Ashley? What the fuck?
Ashley, are you having a stroke?
There was no doubt that this person was the woman who had just treated me, but at the same time, she was not. Her facial expressions had totally changed. She looked furious, full of hate and ready to keep hitting me. Her voice was that of a man, and even though I'd only seen her for a few minutes, the way she stood had totally changed.
So, there is no cook?
What did you just say?
Furious, Ashley pulled me and stood me up.
My name is Roy, and I'm the fucking cook. You have a problem with that?
She showed me a knife.
No.
You know what I think? I think you're saying that so I won't hurt you. But you don't really think I'm a good cook.
Please don't hurt me.
What the hell do you think you're doing? I told you I like this one. Are you stupid?
Ashley went back to acting like a woman.
Don't get involved in this. You want me to hit you again?
I had no idea what was going on, but I knew this was my chance to escape. I tried to open the door I came through, but it was locked.
Where do you think you're going, asshole? Did you forget that you turned your back on me when you were trying to find me? The door's locked now.
As she said this, she walked slowly towards me with a knife in his hand, as if enjoying the moment. I ran desperately looking for the back door, but I didn't know the place and could get locked in. Desperate, I locked myself in the storage room.
No! Don't go there! Oh, I'm not gonna kill you!
When I turned my face, all the employees who always served me were tied hand and foot with tape over their mouths. Terrified, they looked at me as if asking me to help them.
All right, asshole. You scared him off. Now that he saw that we should kill him, can't you do anything right?
Hey, I'm sorry, okay? It's not easy being the one doing everything around here. You just act like a dumb bitch and a nice bitch.
That was the plan, you fucking idiot. You're not the one doing the thinking here. It's me, got it? Ugh, you ruin everything.
All right, smartass. How are we gonna get him out of here?
I don't give a shit. Let's just set the place on fire. I don't want to be a cashier anymore, and you've proved you are terrible at cooking.
I had to leave this place urgently. If I stayed one more second, they were going to set the whole place on fire, taking the employees with me. While this talk was going on, I took the opportunity, slammed the door and ran.
Oh, I was just playing. You didn't have to go in there.
I knew that sooner or later she was going to catch me. She was way faster than me. So when she was very close, I turned around and rammed her as hard as I could. The girl had fallen to the floor and was not moving. This was strange, as I did not see her hit her head and there was no blood. Confused, I thought about approaching her, but as I did, I saw Ashley tighten her grip on the knife in her hand. This was a trap. I kept running on my way to the back door. She quickly stopped and came after me again, but it was too late. I'd already gained too much distance. I closed the door almost a few centimeters before she caught up with me, and while she kicked the door in desperation, I kept locking it and yelling for someone to call the police. She was so desperate and furious that she'd stayed that way for minutes. She didn't try to escape. She didn't try to get out the front door, and she didn't take hostages. She just kept screaming and forcing the door open with screams that could be so violent that they would terrify the bravest person. When the police finally arrived, I no longer had the strength to continue blocking the door, and she almost opened it. But when she did, she was met with 2 police officers pointing in her direction. When I was at the police station giving my statement, I saw the TV on and they were talking about the police catching a woman named Emily. a mental patient who escaped from the psychiatric hospital during a power outage. The poor person had multiple personality disorder, and Ashley and Roy, her two most dangerous personalities, dreamed of working at Waffle's house, their favorite eating place. After what happened that day, I still go to the place for breakfast, only now I prefer not to talk to the employees so much. You never know if one of them might be a serial killer hiding.
My grandson introduced me to IMR Scary Tales a few months back. After watching their content for a while, I finally feel this is the best platform to share my story. I am Ruby Lerman, currently 63 years old, living in Florida. My husband died 4 years ago, so it's been just me. I'm one of those few older people who are reluctant to succumb to a boring life just because we're aging. This incident happened 2 days before when I went to watch a movie. The movie ended around 8:30 p.m. I was driving along the empty streets, thinking about where to go for dinner, when I noticed the Chipotle on the side of the road. I've never had Mexican food before, so I parked my car to give it a try. The Chipotle outlet had been there for the last few weeks. There were very few cars in the parking zone. Once I walked into the restaurant, it shocked me to see how empty it was during such peak hours. 2 truckers were eating at a corner table. Right in the middle of the restaurant sat a man dressed as a big red chili. His funny costume made me laugh, and he noticed me right away. We exchanged an awkward stare. The moment our eyes met, he let out a big smirk. Thinking he was just being polite, I smiled back too. I went to the counter to order. The boy at the counter looked at me with a disinterested face and said,
Welcome to Chipotle. May I take your order?
Hi. I will have a chicken burrito bowl with a berry agua fresca.
We don't have berry. We can do mandarin.
Fine with me.
Please take your seat. Your order will be right up.
I went to take a seat and saw the truckers leaving the restaurant. It was now me and that Chipotle mascot. Seeing me waiting for my food, the man got up and came to my table. He was really tall and had big eyes, like a night owl.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm guessing you too enjoy eating alone just like me.
Yeah, kind of used to it now. Loneliness becomes a constant companion when you're old.
But you have me here. I can keep you company till you enjoy dinner, if you want.
Maybe this isn't an ideal situation today, but back in my day, we were taught to be nice to those who were nice to us, without doubting their intention. I know that sounds risky, but that's how I was brought up. So out of my humble gesture, I thought about what harm could come from chatting with this man. I was going to eat alone anyway. Sure, I'm okay with that.
Oh, great. You are so kind.
The man pulled up a chair from the next table and sat beside me. His odd red chili costume made it pretty difficult for him to sit down, but somehow he managed. I wasn't sure about his age, but he seemed younger than me.
So, how long have you been working at Chipotle?
Not long. I always wanted to be a Chipotle mascot.
Really?
Yeah. Isn't the costume amazing? I mean, look at this big red chili I'm wearing. I bet nothing can beat this fashion.
Yeah, right. You're very funny.
What? No, I was being serious. You really should try out this costume, Grandma. Only then you will know.
Even though I was old, I surely wasn't the age of this man's grandmother. But to not make a big deal out of his sly comment, I kept my calm. The food got delivered, and I began to eat. While I was eating, this man kept watching me. Every bite I took, he just stared at me and smiled in a very disturbing way. Seeing me concentrating on the food, the man spoke.
You must be really hungry, no?
Yeah, well, it's dinner time.
Sorry, I didn't ask your name. I'm Cam. Eyes and ears of this place.
I'm Ruby.
So, Ruby, are you single?
What?
Didn't I tell you? I have a thing for older women.
Now, the man started being outright creepy, and I realized what a huge mistake I'd made by telling him to join me. Trying my best to avoid any trouble, I replied, "I appreciate your attention, Cam, but I don't have a thing for younger men."
Oh, come on. This is probably the best thing that could happen to you at this age. Embrace the opportunity, Ruby.
He slightly leaned over to my side and placed his hand on mine. I was stunned to see his audacity. I moved my hand away and said, "I think I've had enough company for tonight. It'll be better if I finish my dinner alone." I went back to eating, thinking my loud and clear rejection would drive him away. If only I had known the creeps nowadays don't budge so easily. He got up from the chair, holding a pissed-off face, and then gave me an ear-to-ear smile, saying,
Don't be like this, Ruby. We were just becoming friends.
"Look, you 6-foot chili wiener. I don't want to be your friend, so leave me alone. Am I clear?"
Crystal, Ruby.
"And stop calling me Ruby, you jerk." Even though I insulted him, he still didn't go away, but stood there, watching me with his creepy eyes. "What is your problem?"
I'm just thinking.
"What? What is there to think? I just told you."
I wonder how spicy you would have been back in your day.
"Excuse me?"
Enjoy your food, Grandma.
Saying this, he pushed the table a little, and it spilled my beverage, making a mess of my food. At that point, I had had enough, so I got up to complain about this guy. Seeing me walk to the counter, the man quickly left the restaurant. I called out to the Chipotle employee who was busy in the kitchen. "Hello, you there?"
What is it?
"That man is disgusting. How could you guys hire someone like that? No wonder this place has no customers."
Wait a minute. What are you talking about?
"Your stupid mascot has no respect for older people. Where's your manager? I want to report this man."
But we don't have any mascot in the house. That man came in on his own. Our restaurant has nothing to do with him.
Oh my God. I grabbed the nearby chair nervously. So this man was not only a creep, but a liar as well. The fact that he casually dressed up as the Chipotle mascot and came to pick up older women here made my skin crawl. I couldn't finish my meal, and with trembling steps came out of the restaurant. It was 10 p.m. already. As far as my eyes went, I couldn't see that man anywhere. I quickly walked to my car, and as I noticed the driver's side window, my stomach dropped. The window was shattered. There was broken glass all over the seat, and dirty blue underwear was resting on the steering wheel. Just then, I heard a crazy giggle from the other side of the road. It was that crazy guy. He was standing on the sidewalk and waving at me with a big, evil smile. That's it, psycho. I took out my phone and dialed 911. There's no way I'm driving home with his dirty underwear. He realized I was making a call to the police, so he yelled my name.
Ruby! It was nice meeting you, my darling.
Saying this, he lifted his left hand and licked his palm, taking out his big tongue. The way he made this awful gesture while staring at me made me feel unclean. I wanted to dig a hole right there and bury myself in it. He disappeared into the woods after that. When the cops came and asked me what happened, I was in complete shock. Women my age don't expect to get molested or assaulted by young men. Yet that night, that crazy man molested me with his words and vile gestures. The cops lodged my complaint. They also acquired the footage of the CCTV inside the Chipotle restaurant for better identification of this creep. I just hope he gets caught soon.
My name is Alex, and I have a story to tell you. It may seem unbelievable, and you wouldn't hear about it in the most horrifying horror movie, but this is one of those rare cases where reality outweighs fiction. I was working at Panera Bread like any other day. The hours passed very slowly, and I felt like that day was going to last forever. Every once in a while, a customer calls your attention, and you have topics to talk about with your co-workers. But from the first moment that strange guy walked in, I knew something was wrong. The man was tall, stocky, and very muscular. He was wearing an elegant groom's suit with an excellent tie, but it was very dirty and had lost some of its color. But what made him most uncomfortable was his face. It was all bruised and had many cuts, and his gaze was deep and piercing. Even so, his hair was neatly groomed, and he had a generous smile that did not denote malice. The man approached the empty box where I was, and after a few seconds there I forgot I was supposed to talk to him. We started chatting.
Sorry, sir. Welcome. May I take your order? I'm sorry. What did you say?
I said very uncomfortably, not knowing what to answer him.
I love you. Oh, thank you. You are the most beautiful woman I've ever seen in my life. I'm in love with you.
All my companions who were nearby could not hold their laughter. Some of them even burst out laughing without hiding it from the man, who didn't even look at them. Meanwhile, I wasn't laughing. I was just very uncomfortable.
Sir, I thank you, but I'm working. Could you please ask or leave the establishment? Oh, I'm sorry, beautiful. I'll leave now. I don't want to disturb you while you're working.
To my surprise, the man simply turned and politely left. But as he was leaving, he turned and very politely said to me,
I can't wait for you to have my children.
After he left, all my co-workers started to tease me. My short stature was always a source of ridicule, but when he started calling me Alexa, I knew they wouldn't forget about it for a while. My work shift ended in the afternoon, but since it was winter, it was already dark. It was very cold and I hadn't dressed warmly, so I wanted to get home quickly. I thought about taking the usual route, but I remembered that there was an alley that served as a shortcut to save many blocks. I knew it was a stupid idea, but nothing had ever happened to me, and if I saw someone, I was just going to run. I started walking down the long dark alley, but a voice behind me surprised me.
You can stop looking for me, my love. I've always been with you.
When I turned around in surprise, the huge man already had his hands in my arms, and after pushing me against the wall, he started kissing me in the mouth. Even if it was just for a second of surprise, I could feel his disgusting tongue slipping between my lips and touching my tongue. I pushed him away and started to run, but I couldn't get more than a few centimeters away when he grabbed me by the neck and with a lot of force pulled me back and put me up against the wall. Instead of kissing me, with the hand that wasn't around my neck, he began to violently punch me in the stomach while he shouted,
How dare you try to leave me, you little bitch! Did you forget about all our good times? Are you gonna give up on love this easy?
After hitting me, he pulled handcuffs out of his pocket and attached my hands to the bars of a closed door. In pain, I put up no resistance. I was at the mercy of whatever this man wanted to do to me, who, surprised, looked at my face.
It can't be. You know what this miracle is. You're a virgin. You were waiting for me all along.
I knew it.
I'm not even a...
Shut up. No one gave you permission to talk.
Please, just leave me alone. No. I'm sorry. I've been very demanding with you. Loving is not easy, and I think we both should give each other a second chance. Please, no. I know what can put us back together, my love. What are you doing?
Suddenly, he started to lick my feet, wildly. With each passing second, he licked me harder and harder and faster. His calm and peaceful look was gone. This man was ecstatic, totally out of control. He stood with a demented grin and dug his cold nails into my face. As he slowly ran his hand down my face, peeling my skin off along the way, I watched as he was doing the same thing with his other hand on his face, but with eyes that denoted immeasurable pleasure. Until for no reason, he stopped, looked up at the sky and began to scream.
Yes! What a rush!
He lowered his gaze and looked into my eyes. I was crying.
Hey, don't be like that. I don't like to see you cry.
His change of attitude was instantaneous. Now he was talking to me with a sad and melancholic voice. Tears started to come out of his eyes, and within seconds he was crying with me. And from one moment to another, he smiled.
I know what I can do to make you happier. I will help you be a full woman.
With a generous smile, he reached down and pulled off my pants, leaving me in my underwear. He then began to run the knife across my leg. He started in the knees, going up very slowly, staring at my crotch.
What? Oh, no. Please don't. Help! Someone help me!
You don't need any help but mine, my love.
Again, with a calm and polite tone. After saying that, he rested his knife on my leg, squeezed just a little bit, and moving it slowly to the side, cutting me in the process.
You will die if you are not ready to love. Don't be sad about me, my love. You are not the first, and you will not be the last. You better worry about yourself, for those who turn their back on true love will leave like leaves on an autumn afternoon.
He bent down again, looking at my crotch, knife ready. Suddenly, 3 gang members with guns in their hands spoke to him.
Whoa, dude, what the fuck are you doing? That's fucked up, man.
Furious, the psychopath rushed at them, but the distance separating them was too far, so the 3 gang members shot him. The psychopath fell next to me. As he died, he looked into my eyes and tearfully whispered his last words as he stretched out his arm in my direction.
You were mine.
His eyes went out, and he stopped looking at me.
Thank you. Please release me.
But one of them raised his gun towards me.
He saw our faces, honey. Should I kill him? What are you doing, asshole? The pigs are coming. Just grab his stuff and let's go.
And without further ado, one of them grabbed my backpack and they ran as fast as they could. The gang members were wrong. Neither the police nor anyone else came. The hours passed, and I was alone there, handcuffed, in pain, and paralyzed from the cold next to the corpse of the man who had almost killed me. I couldn't sleep all night. I didn't even have the strength to cry. The night passed very slowly until daylight, when some people saw me and ran to help me. Physically, I was fine. I didn't have much more than some bruises and cuts on my body and face, but the psychological damage caused by that fateful encounter is something I will never be able to overcome.
I've heard that the first job experiences are always the most complicated. My case is no exception, as I almost lost my life in my first month on the job. The job was at Chipotle, and I couldn't have been happier. I loved Mexican food, and that was my favourite place. My manager had interviewed me. She was a very nice woman who seemed to be pleased with my enthusiasm, although she couldn't hide her nerves.
And that's how you use the cash register. Did you have any questions, James?
No, Mrs. Wendy.
Hey, take it easy, kid. It's okay to be nervous. It'll go away with the third customer, you'll see.
Thank you, Mrs. Wendy.
And you can just call me Wendy. There's no need to be so formal.
Okay, Wendy.
Hey, I have to go do some business with my brother for a few hours. If you have any doubt, you can ask Shara. She's been here for a while, and surely she won't have any problem, right, Shara? Do I have to? You were new too. Don't be like that. The guy's nervous. Okay, I'll help.
After that, Wendy left in a hurry, and a few seconds later, Chara looked at me laughing.
So, do you need this job so badly that you put on a show for the interview?
What do you mean?
Come on, no one would be that excited to work at Chipotle.
Why? I mean, this place is really nice, and the food's really tasty.
Wow. You really are excited to work here, aren't you?
Yeah, totally. It's been my dream for as long as I can remember. I love this place.
What a freak.
The day went by very quickly, and it had been exactly as Wendy had said. Even though I had served the first customer with a very frightened and shaky voice, I was getting more and more confident, and by the middle of the day, I was already serving with great calmness. I didn't see the manager much, but even if reluctantly, Chara gave me all the help I needed. After a week, I felt at home.
Hey, freak. I have to go help in the kitchen. Be right back.
No problem.
The minutes passed, and the customers started to pile up. I was serving them quickly, so there were no complaints. All this changed when a customer entered the place and went ahead of the line. He was a tall, imposing, skinny man. His cold stare crossed my eyes, and a shiver ran through my body. Without further anticipation, the man spoke to me with a determined tone.
Bring me the option 3 to table 8 and tell the cooks to hurry.
Oh, sir, you have to wait in line to order your food. Besides, you have to pay.
What did you just say?
I'm sorry, sir, but other people are waiting in line already.
Listen to me, you little shit. If you know what's good for you, the damn option 3 will be on table 8 in less than 15 minutes. You understand?
No, you listen to me, sir. You will leave the establishment now, or I'll have to call security. We do not tolerate disrespect here.
The man was perplexed. I could tell he wanted to say something, but the words didn't come out of his mouth. He just looked at me with a confused look on his face and left. I had never had so much courage in my life. Wendy told me to call Chara with clients like that, but I wanted to prove to them that I had personality and that I can handle difficult clients if I want to. A few minutes later, Wendy arrived earlier than usual and came to pick me up at the cashier's desk.
Hey, James, can you come to my office for a moment?
I followed Wendy to her office, and as I entered, I was shocked. Inside was the man from before, standing against the wall, looking me up and down. Wendy pointed to the chair, looking at me, so I took a seat.
Yep, that's him.
What a relief. I was afraid it was someone else. I can't stand this little shit.
Wait, is this the bootlicker?
The one and only.
What?
Nice to meet you, kid. I'm a big fan of yours.
Wait, who are you?
Without another word, he approached me, grabbed me by the hair, and slowly forced my face against the table, wringing it out like a rag. Meanwhile, Wendy lit a cigarette, leaned against the wall, and began to smoke it casually.
You have to learn to be a little more respectful with the customers, kid. You don't know who you're gonna meet.
Stop it! You're hurting me!
Hey bro, did you know that chili is this asshole's favorite food? The little shit is in love with this place.
Oh, isn't that something precious? I got an idea. If you like Chipotle so much, you're gonna have all the chili you can eat. When can you let your cooks know the buffet is open?
Really, Caesar? Again?
Don't worry. I'll clean up my mess.
Whatever, I'm going home.
Say hi to Mom.
She hates you. Bye, Caesar. Bye, James.
Sir, I'm sorry I treated you badly. I didn't know how to handle the situation.
In response, the man pulled a revolver out of his pocket and put it to my head.
Listen to me. If you say one more word between now and the end of the night, I'll not only blow your head off, but I'll come looking for your whole family.
In silence, I could only cry. After a while, Chara came in with a plate of chili, and despite looking at me impressed, she didn't say a word.
This is your favorite food, isn't it? Start eating.
Without saying anything for fear that he would shoot me, I obeyed and ate as fast as I could. Every time I slowed down, the icy metal I felt in my head pressed harder. As soon as I finished eating the chili, another plate was waiting for me, and I ate that too. The minutes passed, and I kept eating and eating. I had never eaten so much in my life, but the gun in my head whetted my appetite. Meanwhile, the man kept looking at me patiently with a smile on his face, enjoying my belly getting bigger and bigger. After a while, I gave up and began to vomit. The vomit had an orange colour and chili chunks came out. All the spice from the food went back on my throat and made me even thirstier, but I had no water.
What the fuck do you think you're doing? How dare you waste the food? Eat it all!
The man kicked me and threw me to the floor, forcing me to eat every last trace of vomit. At times, the disgust got the worst of me, and I had to vomit again. But I ate it desperately so I wouldn't get shot. While with a smile, the man continued to enjoy the show. When I got back to the chili, I couldn't take it anymore. I felt that if I didn't end up dead from a gunshot, I was going to explode. Everything that went into my mouth came back out, and I was desperate to put it back in so he wouldn't kill me. A few minutes later, the man saw his watch, picked me up, and tied me against the chair, and spoke to me.
It's been fun, kid, but the restaurant has to close. I hope you don't mind spending the night here.
I didn't have the strength to answer him. I felt like I was dying inside.
Well, I guess you don't mind. Take care of the place for us, kid.
After leaving me tied up and locking the door, the lights went out and the man left. Almost an hour passed and I started to get dizzy. I felt indescribable pain that started at the side of my waist and spread throughout my body. I wanted to continue vomiting, but I had no energy even for that. It was as if my body preferred to choke on my own vomit. I stopped feeling my body and my vision became more and more blurred. And just when I stopped distinguishing things, I could recognize Chara, who was desperately coming through the door. Then, I don't remember anything else. When I opened my eyes, I was in the hospital. The doctor told me that I had to have emergency surgery because I had eaten so much that my whole abdomen filled up, from my ribs to my pelvis. So much that it perforated and I almost lost my life. They never saw who brought me to the hospital, but whoever did it didn't come in with me. I guess Chara didn't want to put her family at risk. I never showed up at Chipotle again. In the days after my operation, I started to receive several threats, but since I didn't go to the police, they stopped coming. I always wanted to thank Chara for saving me, but I decided not to put her at risk. The best thing I could do in that situation was to keep quiet, be thankful I was alive, and never go to Chipotle again.
I had never really been into wrestling, but Derek, a friend and classmate from college, was a big fan of that type of entertainment. When he found out I had never been to a show, he invited me to one that was coming up soon. I accepted, since I didn't mind trying something new. A few days later, he told me,
"Oh, another friend of mine is gonna come with us too. Is that okay?" "Yeah."
I arrived at the show venue long before Derek and his friend. We had agreed to meet a little before it started, but time passed and he was nowhere to be found. At some point, I received an audio from Derek.
"Hey, Archie, you see, my mom, something happened, and I won't be able to go. I'm really sorry."
"Don't worry," I replied. "I hope everything is all right." Soon after, I received another audio.
"But Mark is still going, you know? You guys could go together."
"Sure," I sent him.
"I told him how you look. He'll be there soon."
"Thanks, Derek. See you later," I replied. The truth was, I was an outgoing guy, so I didn't mind meeting this Mark guy. After a few short minutes, a very tall and skinny man started walking toward me. He was wearing a sweatshirt that said, "The Boogeyman," and he kept his hands in his pants pockets at all times.
Are you Archie?
"Yes. Are you Mark?"
Obviously.
"Nice to meet you."
He looked me up and down with no expression on his face.
Let's go.
Okay.
We started walking into the place together.
Derek told me you're a big fan of wrestling, so you must be very excited, right?
Yes.
Mark didn't seem like a very talkative person, but maybe he was just shy.
"You know, wrestling has never really excited me."
He looked at me with annoyance.
"I mean, I've never been to a show. This is the first time that
I know. Derek told me."
I was starting to feel uncomfortable.
It's a shame Derek couldn't come, don't you think? He didn't tell me much, but
You talk a lot, you know.
What?
I hope you don't talk too much during the show. I don't want any distractions.
Yeah, sure.
After that, I kept quiet. We sat in the middle of the audience, not too close, but not too far from the ring. As red lights came on and people started screaming with excitement, Mark said,
"It's beginning."
Almost immediately, the presenter began to speak.
"This is who we call the Boogeyman."
A man with a face painted red and black like a devil appeared. The Boogeyman? After a few seconds, I remembered why his name seemed familiar to me. That was the same thing that was written on Mark's sweatshirt, so I turned to look at him. The expression on his face surprised me. He had a big smile and was staring at that wrestler.
You must be a big fan of the boogeyman, right? Your sweatshirt.
Shut up. Uncomfortable, I went back to watch the wrestlers again. I hadn't paid attention to the other's introduction, so I didn't know who he was, but his appearance was much more common. He just had a black outfit. Suddenly, the bell rang, which meant the beginning of the fight. The other wrestler decided to start with a punch, but the boogeyman was able to grab his arm and throw him to the ground. There, he held him until the other wrestler managed to get up, grabbed him by the head, and threw him away. The public screamed.
No! You have to win, the boogeyman!
Mark's voice gave me the chills. He, instead of sounding excited like everyone else, wanted the boogeyman to win so badly that he seemed to be obsessed with it. The boogeyman used his opponent's attack to his advantage as he gained momentum thanks to the railing. He jumped on top of the other wrestler and caused him to fall. A loud thud was heard as he hit the ground.
Yes!
Uncomfortable, I turned to look at Mark. Suddenly, his eyes, which were wide open, focused on me.
The best part is coming. You have to watch it. Look at him!
I quickly shifted my gaze to the wrestlers. The truth was, I preferred to see them than Mark. 3, 2, and 1. The boogeyman had officially won.
It's time.
Suddenly, I watched as a small bag was thrown at the boogeyman, who reached down and opened it. From inside the bag, he pulled out a handful of something that was moving. I soon realized that they were worms wriggling in his hand. The boogeyman walked up to his knocked out opponent, opened his mouth, and started filling it with worms. I could see some moving and coming out of his mouth, which immediately made me nauseous. It was disgusting, but the public seemed to like it. For a moment, when the boogeyman grabbed more worms, I thought he would give them to his opponent too, but I was wrong. That man took them to his own mouth and swallowed them. I had to put both hands over my mouth to keep the vomit from coming out. My stomach felt queasy.
He is always the best.
After the show, Mark and I walked together to the bus station, which was a bit far. I wanted to get home as soon as possible since I wasn't feeling well at all. Surprisingly, Mark spoke.
Did you like the show?
I don't know what to say. It wasn't how I imagined it.
With the boogeyman, this show is always a surprise.
I agree with that.
He is my favorite wrestler, you know.
I listened as Mark opened his backpack.
I admire him a lot.
I noticed.
He is the best.
After that, I heard Mark eat something.
Do you want some?
Turning to look at him, I felt as if my heart stopped. In his right hand, Mark had worms, just like the boogeyman.
What are you doing?
You liked the show, didn't you? You have to do it too.
Mark walked up to me as I tried to walk away, but I soon ran into the alley wall.
Eat them, Archie!
He put his hand full of worms in my mouth. Soon, I began to feel the movements of the worms, and although I tried to keep my mouth closed as much as possible, some of them managed to get inside. Feeling the worms moving inside my mouth made me so disgusted that, with all the strength I had, I pushed Mark, who fell to the ground. Then I vomited. Already on the floor, the worms moved about among the vomit.
What the hell is wrong with you? You're crazy!
I thought about calling the police, but the truth was that I didn't want to be around that lunatic any longer. So I left with the taste of vomit still in my mouth. The next day, I told Derek what had happened. He tried to contact Mark, but it was impossible since Mark had blocked him. From that day on, I didn't go to any wrestling shows again due to the fear of meeting that sick guy.
That summer, my family and I had recently moved to a place far from our previous home. I had never really liked the idea, but my mom needed us to live with her parents so they could help her take care of my 2 younger brothers when she went to work. Having to leave the place where I had always lived had put me in a very bad mood. "Allison," she knocked on the door of my new room. "Allison, it's time for lunch. Could you come downstairs?" "Leave me alone, Mom." I could hear her sigh on the other side of the door. "I know this is hard for you. Would you like to go out?" From that day on, my mom started giving me money so I could go out and have fun, since she thought it would help me feel better. That's how I started going to Panera Bread, my favorite coffee shop, every day, but that didn't make things any better. I didn't know anyone around, so I was alone, and being there made me feel melancholy, because, in fact, in my old home, I used to go to eat at a Panera Bread. Anyway, one of those summer days, when it was especially hot, I decided to drink agave lemonade, the best one for that type of occasion. "Hello."
Hi, miss. What would you like to order?
"I want an agave lemonade and a smokehouse barbecue chicken sandwich."
Sure. That'll be $11.88 in total.
Once I paid, the guy gave me my glass. I then waited in line for my sandwich to be delivered. "A smokehouse barbecue chicken sandwich?" The person who came with my food was a blonde woman. She immediately struck me as rude, as she wasn't even bothering to look me in the eye when attending me. She had her gaze set elsewhere, as if she felt superior. "Yes, it's mine. Take it." She practically threw the sandwich into my hands and then turned around. Ugh. Before sitting down at one of the small free tables, I walked over to the drinks machine and filled my glass. At that moment, a strange smell reached my nose, but I didn't pay too much attention to it. I was very thirsty, so the first thing I did when I sat down was grab the glass of agave lemonade and bring it to my lips to start drinking. At first, it tasted as good as ever, but once I swallowed it, it left a strange taste in my mouth. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't common either. To make sure it really tasted weird, I took a second sip. There was definitely something wrong with that drink. Since I refused to finish drinking that lemonade, I ate my sandwich and went over to the guy who had taken my order earlier. "Hey."
Oh, what's wrong, miss?
"It's the agave lemonade. It tastes weird." I handed him the glass with the drink.
Oh, I'm really sorry, miss. Do you want another drink? Or maybe a refund?
I was still thirsty, so I didn't think too much about it. "I want bottled water, please."
Oh, you got it.
After he gave me the bottle and the remaining money, I sat down again. I was about to put on my headphones and listen to music when I started hearing some people arguing. "Are you serious?" The blonde girl who worked there was talking to a man while the other employee was standing next to her.
It was your responsibility. I mean, how could you forget about it? This is about the clients. You can't make mistakes like that.
Ugh, this is bullshit.
Hannah, if you continue with this attitude, I will have no choice but to fire you.
After that, the man left, leaving the 2 employees alone. "Go eat some shit, old man." Suddenly, she started looking in all directions as if she was searching for something. Finally, she stared at my water bottle, and then she shifted her gaze to my eyes. Almost immediately, I felt a chill run down my spine. The expression in her brown eyes was one of anger. She stayed like that, looking at me for a few seconds, and then turned around. "What the heck?" Before leaving the Panera Bread, I approached the drink machine once more. Again, I smelled a strange stench, so I inspected it. The moment I saw what was behind it, a lump formed in my throat at the same time that I began to feel nauseous. There were some dark stains on the wall behind the machine. What had I drunk along with the agave lemonade? I had no idea, but it was making my stomach bubble. After that, it took me several weeks to go back to the Panera Bread. The desire to be in a familiar place had convinced me to do it. Hello, I want a chocolate croissant and a caramel latte, please.
Oh, of course. That will be a total of $8.58.
I nodded and paid him. It was at that moment that I realized something. The blonde girl from the other time, while she was preparing a drink, was staring at me. She didn't seem upset, but there was something unsettling about the look on her face that made me nervous.
Did you hear that, Hannah? A chocolate croissant and a caramel latte.
Yeah, I heard it very well. I felt an intense urge to cancel the order, but couldn't bring myself to do so, as she had already started making the caramel latte. Besides, I was sure she wouldn't dare spit in my coffee while I was looking at her. After a few minutes, she finished making the caramel latte, put the chocolate croissant on a plate, and handed them both to me. Enjoy it. Her big smile was noticeably forced, which made me think she was upset since she hadn't been able to get revenge. Finally, I walked over to a table and started eating the chocolate croissant. The moment I tasted it, I could tell that the dessert was hard and had a foul taste that I couldn't get out of my mouth when I spit it out. So I drank some of the coffee, but that was even worse. It was bitter and spicy at the same time, which made me start coughing uncontrollably.
Miss?
In the blink of an eye, the employee was right next to me, but he didn't seem to know what to do to help me.
Hannah! Call the supervisor!
I could see how the blonde woman just looked at me without moving.
Hannah! What are you doing?
Suddenly, a laugh began to be heard.
Hannah?
That's what you get for being a delicate little princess bitch.
What the hell?
This is the bitch that tried to fuck with me the other day, Jackson. And now I gave this stupid little ant what she deserves.
By this point, I was terrified. The smile on the woman's face was just sick. After a few minutes, the supervisor finally arrived. He and the employee helped me call an ambulance, and my mother too. That day, they had to do a gastric lavage to remove the liquid that had managed to reach my stomach. We're currently awaiting trial against that woman, but in the meantime, I'm staying home. I don't think I have the courage to eat in a restaurant anymore.
The day was July 4th. At this point, I had already studied in school that on that date was Independence Day. But as a little child, that was not what had caught my attention. I was most excited by the red, white, and blue colors, which were everywhere, in the decorations, in the people, and even in the food. That wasn't something I got to see every day. On that occasion, my mom had decided to take me to a fireworks show. So there we were, on the street, at night, in the middle of a bunch of people. I soon noticed that many of them had flags. Mom!
What is it, Jake?
Why don't I have a flag? I want one. Everyone has one.
Laura?
Suddenly, a lady with brown hair began to approach us. She said my mother's name, so I looked at her closely.
Jessica, long time without seeing you.
My mom let go of my hand to hug the woman.
I see you ended up having a child, huh? Oh, yeah, his name is Jake. Hi, Jake. You are very cute.
Hello? Mom started talking to that woman. After a few minutes, I got bored, so I began to look around. I still wanted a flag. Mom?
Jake, I'm talking. Don't interrupt me.
I was starting to get mad at my mom when, all of a sudden, I began to hear some loud noises. There were lights of various colors on the floor, so I decided to look up at the sky. The fireworks had started. Mom! Fireworks! Unfortunately, soon a group of people began to prevent me from seeing the fireworks, so I took my mom by her arm. Mom! Mom! I can't see them! Can I get closer, please?
Yes, Jake. Don't go too far.
Thanks, Mom!
Laura, are you sure?
I walked away from Mom and that woman and started moving between the people. It didn't take me long to find a place where I could easily see the fireworks. Wow! They seemed fantastic to me. Every time they exploded in the sky, new colors appeared.
Hello, kid.
As soon as someone spoke to me, I turned to see the person. I hadn't noticed, but next to me was a woman. She looked weird.
What's your name?
My mom told me not to talk to strangers.
Oh, but I'm not a stranger. I've seen your mom before. Your name is Jake, isn't it?
The woman had to be telling the truth, so I smiled. Yes, I'm Jake.
Jake, I noticed you like fireworks, don't you?
Yes! Oh, they're amazing! I like them a lot! The woman smiled, but I didn't, because I didn't like her smile. It seemed strange. In fact, everything about her was weird. Her hair was disheveled, her skin was really pale, and she was wearing clothes that were too big for her.
I also like fireworks. A lot.
Really? Oh, that's cool! My mom and her friend don't like them. That's why they didn't come with me.
Do you want to come with me?
Huh?
In my house, I have many fireworks. Would you like to see them? I have a lot of different colors.
Can I go with my mom and her friend?
I'd love to invite them, but like you said, they don't like them. So I don't think they'd like to go.
Yeah, you're right.
Let's go.
The woman took my hand and guided me toward her house. I was excited. What's your name? She stared at me for a few seconds.
Aaron.
Nice to meet you, Aaron.
I'm happy to meet you too, Jake.
Where is your house? Is it too far?
No, it's not.
Aaron pointed to the forest that could be seen in the distance, far from all the houses and buildings.
See those trees? It's over there.
Can you use the fireworks in the forest?
Of course. We're going to have a lot of fun, you'll see.
After several minutes, we managed to reach her house. It didn't look like a house to me, as it was a small and old wooden place, but I still followed her. Once we got close enough, Aaron opened the door.
Come in, Jake.
As I entered, I covered my nose. The place smelled really bad and had no windows, so I couldn't see anything. Aaron, can you turn on the lights? The lights didn't help me see too much. One of them was even blinking.
See all those boxes, Jake?
Yes?
They are full of fireworks. Do you want to play with me?
I looked around me. The place was really dirty and even trashed. How could someone live here? I didn't like it.
Jake.
I put my gaze back on her.
I asked if you want to play.
Sure. Aaron walked over to one of the boxes and opened it. From it, she took out something that looked like a stick. What's that?
You'll see.
The woman took a lighter out of one of her pants pockets and lit it. She then brought the flame closer to the stick. As soon as the fire touched it, it began to shine like a star. Whoa! That's so cool!
I know.
The woman began to approach me, still with the object in one of her hands.
Now, I want to show you another thing about fireworks.
Huh? Suddenly, she put the stick on one of my arms. Soon, I began to feel how my skin was burning. Ah! I moved away as fast as I could. Why did you do that? It hurt!
That's the point. Fireworks explode or burn. Didn't you know that?
Slowly, I nodded.
Didn't you tell me you liked them?
Yeah, but I don't want them to hurt me. The smile on the woman's face faded. Something didn't feel right.
So you don't like them?
But...
You lied to me, Jake. I thought I found someone like me, but you're just a lying, dirty rat.
What? Suddenly, she rolled up the sleeve of her oversized sweater and let me take a look at her arm. which seemed to be covered in burns.
See? I truly like them.
You... I started to cry.
Are you scared?
Please don't hurt me.
You lied to me, Jake. You were a bad boy. Do you know what bad kids deserve? A punishment.
Stop! Stop, please!
I tried to walk away, but the woman cornered me.
You know what? I'll show you. That will be your punishment. You'll be like me.
I won't!
Or you'll die.
That day, the woman left me locked up in that place. I wanted to escape. I wanted to go home, but I couldn't. It was as if she had everything prepared from the beginning. The next morning, the door banged open, and to my relief, there were 2 cops with guns in their hands. Turns out my mom had reported me missing, and the police rescued me. Later, I understood that the woman who abducted me was a psychopath and was suffering from mental trauma after losing her very own son to a fire accident exactly a year ago on the 4th of July. Therefore, everyone, please be careful, as this world is full of evil, twisted people around us.
When I had just started working at a Dollar Tree, I was doing pretty well. It was a simple job, no problems used to happen, and I made enough money. But a few months ago, something that happened changed the work environment quite a bit. Prices went up. Dollar Tree stores were known for selling items for $1, but due to inflation, it was decided to raise prices to $1.25. At first, I didn't think that small change would have such a big impact on my life.
Philip?
I glanced at Rosita, my co-worker, who was on duty at the cash register.
Aren't you afraid of being fired?
That had come out of nowhere.
What are you talking about?
Haven't you seen Twitter? A lot of people are complaining about the rise in prices. What if Dollar Tree goes bankrupt?
Oh, come on. That's not gonna happen. Soon, people are just gonna forget about it. Chill out.
But that was not what happened. In the weeks that followed, fewer and fewer people began to show up to buy at the store, which began to concern me. I even started noticing that, from time to time, some of the few people who came complained when they noticed the price increase.
This is bullshit!
Still, the situation always ended in a few bad words. Sometimes the customer even left, but nothing else happened. One day, while I was sweeping out the store that barely had a customer or two, the doors opened. When I turned to see, I noticed that an old woman had entered. I immediately felt something strange about her. She wasn't like the typical grandmother. In fact, she seemed a bit paranoid. Her dark eyes scanned the store from one side to the other, as if looking for something. The moment she saw me, she forced a smile and approached.
Good afternoon, young man.
Closer now, I could see in better detail the wrinkles and blemishes on her skin.
Could you tell me where the energy drinks are?
When she opened her mouth, an unpleasant smell reached my nose. That woman was a mess. Her teeth were dark and her short grey hair was disheveled and dirty.
Young man, I'm talking to you.
Oh, sure, ma'am. They are at the end of the second hall.
The woman quickly walked away from me, which left me confused. Did she really want an energy drink? Why? She seemed as if what she really needed was to take a nap. However, due to her strange attitude, I assumed that what she might be wanting to do was steal. So I decided to follow her. That way I could keep an eye on her. When I got to hall number 2, I could see her desperately downing an energy drink. It only took her a few seconds to drink the entire bottle. Immediately, she grabbed another. It was at that moment that I reached her side.
Ma'am, you can't do that.
Once she stopped, she gave me an angry look.
Why not?
Excuse me?
I'm going to pay for this anyway, so it doesn't matter, right?
Well, no, but...
Where is the alcohol?
Her eyes were getting more and more restless. In fact, they had turned a little red.
It's over there.
I pointed to my right.
But please don't drink inside the store.
The woman walked away without answering anything. She then grabbed a large alcoholic drink and went into another hall. When I managed to find her again, after going through several halls, the woman was looking up at some candles carefully. while she had a sick, big smile on her face. I couldn't help but flinch. Had she laughed? Really? The woman grabbed several of the candles, put them in the shopping cart that she now had, and walked away again. But not before looking at me out of the corner of her right eye.
What the hell?
This time I didn't follow her. Instead, I went over to the cash register where Rosita was.
Have the other clients already left?
Yeah, why do you ask?
I'm just gonna take care of that lady, okay?
I guess. In that case, I'll go restock some things.
If the old woman was giving me goosebumps, I couldn't imagine how Rosita would feel having to deal with her. She usually got very nervous around strange customers, so I preferred to be the one to handle the situation. Through the cameras, I watched the woman in the tool hall. I wanted her to leave already. Finally, after a few minutes, she walked over to pay. Once she was in front of me, she smiled and stood like that for several seconds.
Could you give me the products, ma'am?
Sure.
The woman immediately began to give me her things. 2 bottles of an energy drink, a large bottle of alcohol, 4 medium candles. I froze as I held in my hands the 3 knives she was planning to buy. Then I looked at her for a moment. She had a wrench.
What are you looking at, young man? Haven't you seen someone buy knives and tools before?
I didn't answer her. I had a bad feeling growing inside me. Lastly, I grabbed the wrench.
That would be a total of $13.25, ma'am.
Sorry? Are you trying to scam me? It has to be $11.
Was she serious? Didn't she know about the price increase?
They are no longer worth $1, but $1.25. Some time ago, the prices increased.
The woman stared at me for a moment.
You are a fucking thief.
Huh?
You were following me before. You wouldn't leave me alone. You don't want me to buy stuff, do you? Do you think you have the right to scam me? Huh?
Calm down, ma'am. No, I'm not lying to you. The price is...
Shut up! Do you think you can stop me, you son of a bitch?
Ma'am!
Suddenly, the woman grabbed the wrench.
Put that down, please. Can you calm down? This is just...
Do you really think you can stop me? Nobody can. I do what I want. Do you understand?
Please, just... You're gonna end up hurting yourself. Just drop that, and...
Do you think that because I am an old woman I can't do anything? You young people are so stupid.
In the blink of an eye, I felt a sharp pain in my head. I staggered. Everything seemed blurry.
I don't think that's enough for you.
Before the old woman could hit me again, I turned around to see who was screaming. It was Rosita. After that, I passed out. I woke up several days later, accompanied by my co-worker.
Oh my god, Philip, finally!
She was crying.
I felt so guilty for leaving you alone.
Rosita. What happened after? Are you okay?
That woman, they managed to locate her? They found a lot of stuff in her house. Seriously, I'm so sorry.
I didn't even want to ask Rosita, or anyone else, what they had found in the woman's house. I didn't have to. I had already seen enough to know that she was a sick woman.
Have you ever thought you were safe? I hope so, but at the same time, I wish not. Anyone knows the world is dangerous, and yet sometimes, when you feel confident, it's easy to forget. You think, what could happen? Nothing ever happens, and that's why you get distracted. But you always have to be vigilant. I learned that the hard way.
Penny, let's go!
A few months ago, on a Saturday afternoon like any other, I got ready to go shopping with my 6-year-old, Penny. Usually we all went together, my husband Harry, Penny and I. But that week had been pretty tiring for him, so I told him to stay home and rest.
But, honey...
Don't worry, I'll take care of everything. Then I kissed him on the cheek. You stay here, we'll be back in no time.
Penny, where are you?
Mommy, I need help.
After helping my daughter put on her favorite coat, we both got in the car. Soon, I started heading toward the store where I frequently bought what I needed, a Kmart close to home. We arrived in less than 20 minutes. That's when I got out of the car and then helped Penny do it. Soon I took her hand and we started walking toward the entrance of the store.
Mommy, why isn't Daddy with us?
He had to stay at home.
Why?
Penny was quite a curious girl, sometimes too much.
Are you gonna buy me candy?
I will, if you behave yourself. Finally, I let go of my daughter's hand to grab the shopping cart, and together we began to walk the aisles of Kmart. I started to grab some of the things I needed to buy, like rice, chickpeas, cereal, and granola bars, when Penny wandered off to check out some desserts. Of course, I soon approached her.
Penny, baby, you can't walk away like that.
Why not? I was bored and wanted to see this. It looks yummy.
We'll see in the end if we take it, okay?
But Mommy, I want it.
As my daughter complained, I couldn't help but notice the person walking down the same aisle, not far from us. He was a very tall man, with brown hair and a neat, well-groomed appearance. But still, when he looked at me, a bad feeling washed over me. I don't usually feel things like that about people, but there was something wrong with his expression and the way he smiled at me and Penny that made me so uncomfortable that I grabbed her right wrist with one of my hands and pushed the shopping cart with the other to get us away from there.
Mommy, I don't want to go. Mommy!
Penny, calm down, please. Why are you behaving like this?
Let go!
She was pulling on her own wrist for me to let her go.
Don't go away, okay?
No!
Once I released her, she stopped whimpering and looked at me.
Stay with me, Penny.
Yes, Mommy.
In the next aisle were the kitchen utensils. I actually needed to buy some, so I stared at them for a while. Sometimes having so many options was more tiring than enjoyable.
Mommy, I'm bored.
I know, you already told me. Just wait a bit.
Why does it take you so long? I want to leave. I miss Daddy.
I know, Penny. Her attitude was beginning to annoy me quite a bit. She didn't behave like that very often.
Daddy would buy me candy if he was here.
That was the comment that broke the camel's back.
Penny, stop it. Be quiet or I won't buy you any candy.
My daughter just looked at me in silence with tears in her eyes. But after that, she didn't speak again. In fact, minutes passed, and she was too quiet.
Penny?
As I turned around and surveyed the aisle, my daughter was not there.
Penny! Penny, where are you?
I grabbed the shopping cart and quickly headed for the candy aisle. But to my surprise, she wasn't there. It was at that moment that a lump formed in my throat. I left the shopping cart there, in the middle of the aisle, and started running around the place, looking for my daughter. People turned to see me when they heard me, but I didn't care. I just wanted to find my little daughter, but she was nowhere to be seen.
Penny!
At one point, a guard approached me.
Is something wrong, ma'am?
I was so worried that breathing became more and more difficult each time. Then I realized I was hyperventilating.
My daughter!
My vision blurred as my eyes were covered with tears.
She was with me a second ago, and now I can't find her.
Oh, keep calm, okay, ma'am? We'll help you. What is your daughter like?
She's barely 6 years old. She's very short. She's blonde, has freckles, and was wearing a yellow coat.
Okay, we'll start looking for her right away.
I kept running through the halls when suddenly my cell phone started to ring. I wasn't going to answer, but when I took it out of my bag, I saw that it was Harry, so I did.
Hello, honey. Is everything going all right?
Harry, Penny.
Hey, what's going on?
I can't find her.
What?
I was with her and...
Suddenly, in the distance, I saw a door that said authorized personnel only. But what caught my attention was that it was open.
I have to go.
I ran to the door and entered. Then I started to hear a whimper. At the end of the hall, to the left, was another door ajar.
Let me go! I don't want to!
I don't care!
Let me go! I want to go with my mom!
Listen, you stupid girl. Your fucking pathetic mother will be dead if you don't go with me, understand?
No, please.
I thought so. Then you'll have to come. We're going to have a lot of fun, you see. You're going to play with me and I'll give you all the candies you want.
But I don't want to. I want Mom and Dad.
Shut up!
Ah!
The last thing I heard before opening the door was the sound of a slap and the scream of my daughter. It was that tall man who was there, holding her wrist.
Let her go! I'll call the police!
Mommy!
The man's face turned pale when he saw me. In fact, he was in such shock that my daughter took advantage of it, let go, and ran into my arms. I welcomed her with a hug to protect her from him. Without waiting any longer, the man ran off.
Fucking coward!
He got into a car and drove away.
Mommy!
Penny, oh my God.
When we returned to the guard, we told him what had happened. He recommended that we report it to the police, which we did together with my husband the next day. I keep hoping they find this man and stop him from trying to do to another girl what he tried to do to my daughter. I moved to Nashville after finishing high school. My grandparents stayed there, so I decided to finish my nursing training there. I took a job at the local Waffle House. The place was 10 minutes away from my house. My grandpa lent me his scooter to drive to work. I liked working there. The smiling faces of happy customers made my day. My grandparents also came there on Fridays. This way, I could spend some time with them amidst the work. Everything was going well until one night. I was about to drive away on my scooter after getting off from work when I saw a worn-out truck parked on the other side of the road. I could tell someone was sitting in the driver's seat, but due to the light and shadowy atmosphere, I couldn't see the person. Whoever was in that truck was watching me. I was staring at the truck suspiciously when the driver's side door opened and a man wearing a pink woman's housecoat came out. He stood under the streetlight and I saw his face. His eyes were wide and his face a pale look. He had brown hair. After staring at me for a few seconds, he scanned the Waffle House and then went back to his truck. Being confused and creeped out a little, I stood there silently. The man drove away mysteriously, leaving me in doubt and suspicion. That night, after coming home, I called the manager and explained this situation to him, but he didn't seem to bother and told me that I was overthinking. The man probably came to eat and after finding the place closed, decided to leave. But why on earth was he wearing a pink woman's housecoat? No matter how hard I tried, I couldn't shake off the fact that there was definitely something wrong with this dude. I kept a sharp eye on work, all set to confront this weird man if he ever came to the Waffle House. And one afternoon, he did. My coworker Julie and I were cleaning the tables. There was no other customer at that moment when the door buzzed open, and I got goosebumps. It was the same man. This time, he was wearing blue, tattered jeans and a white t-shirt. There were stains on his t-shirt, and a reeking odor came from him. He went straight to the empty counter and started to ring the bell on the desk. He saw me and Julie cleaning the table, but he kept on ringing the bell while smiling like a creep. I rushed behind the counter and said in a loud voice,
"Is there anything you need?"
This is fun.
He rang the bell one more time and then looked at me. For the first time, I noticed his eyes. He had pale green eyes that could look into your soul. A big grin appeared on his face, and he said in a raspy voice,
I'm Travis. I saw you last night. Why were you watching me?
Excuse me? I was watching you? Is everything all right here, sir?
Hearing Julie's voice, the man now turned to look at her and said,
Don't interrupt me when I'm talking, bitch.
What did you call me?
A jealous bitch.
You need to leave.
Oh, but I didn't even order, lady. Is this how you treat your customers?
Leave, or I'm calling the cops on you, you freak.
The man's face changed as soon as I mentioned the cops. He looked at me and then Julie and did something unthinkable. He lifted his hand and made a neck-slicing gesture while giving us a spine-chilling smile. I knew it was some kind of warning. We watched him leave, and Julie said,
You guys know each other?
I explained to her about last night. We both called the manager. But this time, too, he was reluctant to take any steps as the guy physically didn't do anything alarming. Who knew that he would one day? The date was April 22nd, 2018. I will never forget it for the rest of my life. I was leaving for work when my grandpa said they would come to the Waffle House. The day was busy, and I barely got time to think about anything other than work. Around 5 in the evening, the restaurant was in full swing. Pushing the glass door, my grandparents entered the restaurant, and I felt a little relieved. At least now I could chat with them while working. This quality time with them always boosted my energy. So there I was, working and laughing with all the happy faces. Everyone was having a great time, and that's when we heard a loud, screeching sound. Before I could contemplate what exactly happened outside, Travis bolted into the restaurant. He was wearing a green jacket, white socks, and no bottoms except underwear. His hair was all messed up, and he looked sick. I could see the hatred in his eyes, and just then, a woman began to scream,
He's got a gun! He's got a gun!
Everyone started screaming and running in panic, and that's when Travis shot his first victim. He went nuts and started shooting all the customers present in the Waffle House at that moment.
Come with me! There's a back door!
Julie shouted while trying to save the innocent people from the hand of the devil, and that's when a bullet hit her in the forehead. Chunks of brain flew in the air and landed on the floor. Slowly, her body collapsed to the ground. Travis smiled like a psychopath and shot anyone that came in front of the barrel of his gun. My eyes shifted to my grandparents, and that's when hell broke over me. Both of my grandparents were lying dead on their seats. Travis's killing spree took their lives too that night. When the Waffle House had nothing but blood everywhere, Travis stopped shooting and looked at me.
Oh, the voices in my head are getting louder now. Your time has come, little birdie.
Please, stop!
He raised the gun at me, and I stood like a statue, waiting for my horrible death. Tears rolled down my eyes as I found myself surrounded by bloody bodies. Travis was about to pull the trigger when something miraculous happened. A man with a bleeding hand surfaced from the washroom. I had no idea there was someone else alive other than me at that moment. He jumped on Travis, and they started to wrestle. Being attacked all of a sudden, Travis got scared and dropped the gun. He then ran away and got inside his truck. The man's scream broke me from my trance.
Call the cops! Now!
4 people died that night, with many more surviving horrible injuries along with trauma. The man who saved my life and stopped a psycho killer was known as James Shaw. After 34 hours of manhunt, the cops finally managed to arrest Travis Rainking. I still get nightmares from that incident. I didn't even get the chance to speak with my grandparents before some crazy lunatic took away so many innocent lives.